On today's episode, we'll talk about the beauty of the Baltimore film community, learning from the ground up, Serial Mom, The Wire, and of course, the Potato Tornado and Freak Book. Just a little bit of business before we start. There may be a curse word here or there in this episode, so please listen responsibly. As always, our website, theop.io, is up and chock full of tips, tricks, and gooey operator goodness. Make sure to check out The Breakdown, where the best operators in the biz explain shots they have done, The Musings, where we discuss everything from quick tips to larger concepts of storytelling, the answers, the images, and so much more. I may or I may not take a break or two during this episode, but I promise that none of them will be longer than 22 seconds. Finally, if you are enjoying the podcast, please follow us, write a review, share us with your parents, and talk us up around the water cooler with your friends. So grab a beverage, sit back, and enjoy the op. Thanks for listening.
Lock it up, nice and quiet, and let's roll.
Rolling. Victor 30 Echo, take 2.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Mark.
And camera set. And action.
Hello and welcome back to the Op Podcast, the podcast where we talk about operating and the art of visual storytelling. I'm Dave Comides, your host, and I'm coming to you from Brooks, Georgia, which is sort of, an hour, depending on traffic, south of Atlanta, because I've come down to the very, very cool, I'm going to call it a homestead, farm and whatnot of today's guest, Jeffrey Pratt Gordon, who is a production designer that I have had the luck to work with, I think, originally as a prop master or in the props department, and then as a production designer. He's really quite amazing, and he has one of the best beards of anyone I've worked with. So I'll just throw that out there.
Well, thank you.
Truth. Some of the things, but not all by any means, that he's worked on: The Wire, Homicide, Wedding Crashers, where we met actually, P-Valley, where we re-met years later and realized we had met originally, Heels, the list goes on and on. He's a really cool guy with a really cool history and a lot of cool stuff going on. So thanks for having me down, man.
Thanks for inviting me.
It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time.
It's been a while. I think 3 or 4 years.
At
Easy.
least. Well, it was COVID. No, it was pre-COVID.
It was pre-COVID.
Yeah, when we did P-Valley together. And I don't remember how we came about it, but it sort of hit us that we'd worked on Wedding Crashers, which was like 20 years prior to that, right?
Yeah, because I remember our first day on set, and I'm looking at you, I'm like, God, I fucking know that guy from somewhere.
That tall, geeky guy.
And I was like, where was it? And then it just, I can't remember what it was, but something hit me real fast. I'm like,
Yep.
Wedding Crashers. And I remember coming up to you and, mentioning that.
That was a lifetime ago right there.
Yeah, what year was that? That was in the early 2000s, I think.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah. Wedding Crashers, I was an on-set dresser.
You were an on-set dresser
was,
for Wedding
yes.
Crashers.
Yeah.
Okay. I have vague memories of that. That was a great show and a tough show in many ways. But were you were in Baltimore? You were in LA and Baltimore?
No, I'm a Baltimore boy.
That's what it was. You
Yep.
were on the Baltimore, Washington. Well, I guess we weren't. No, we were.
Yeah, we were
DC.
DC. We were DC, Maryland Eastern Shore.
Yeah, that's right.
We were on the boats on the Chesapeake Bay.
And Easton, Maryland.
Easton, Maryland.
Do you remember, by the way, that those people who own the ice cream shop that gave us the key to the ice cream shop to go into?
I do have a vague memory of that.
That was amazing.
The town of Easton seemed to love us being there.
They did, right?
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. I remember the day we got there, we went to the ice cream shop, and the guy introduced himself to us, and he was like, listen, just so you know, there's not a lot of Wi-Fi. If you want to ever sit out front, you can use the Wi-Fi. And then, what was the actress? Rachel McAdams. Mm-hmm. Remember she showed the Notebook to the town?
Yes, I do remember that.
And those people came up, and they had us over to dinner at one point, and they came up and they said, listen, we got to head out of town, but here's the key to the ice cream shop. You guys should just go in and scoop out for everybody and then throw the key under the door. And it's like, what?
Yeah, I remember that. And we all stayed in that hotel in downtown Easton and just ruled the whole lobby.
That was a lot of fun. And anybody listening is already turned off, but I don't care. That was good times right there. So tell me, how'd you get into the business? What's your story like?
My story is, well, let's see. I went to college. I studied photography and art history. I had a double major in that. And
Where'd you go to school?
I went to University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
So did you grow up in Baltimore?
UMBC. I was a Navy kid, so I moved every 2 to 3 years of my life.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Or?
It's an interesting thing. Being in my late 50s now and looking back on my career and my upbringing, I think that the fact that I was a military kid and moved every 2 to 3 years really helped inform me as a production designer, as a human being. When you move every 2 to 3 years, you're always the new kid.
Yeah,
That's
right.
one thing.
You got to fit in.
You
right?
got to
To
fit
figure
in.
it out.
You've got to adapt. And I remember I moved from a beach town to Annapolis. And I was, I'd lived in Virginia Beach, I'd lived in San Diego, I'd lived in Honolulu, Cuba, born in Guam.
Wait, you lived in Cuba?
I did. I lived in Guantanamo Bay, fourth grade.
Wow.
Yeah.
When you lived in Guantanamo Bay, like, do you go out into Cuba, or you
Nope.
just?
Nope. We had our own little.
So you're just in the United States,
Correct.
basically.
Yeah,
Wow.
and that was a very interesting experience. Oh, I moved around a lot,
Yeah.
and so what I learned is, and this is many years of really trying to analyze why I am the way I am, and what in my life has led me to be who I am today, and that adaptability that I had to learn. I had to learn how to fit in, and oftentimes the city I had just come from has a completely different style. I've noticed that every city has a different vibe, a different sense of humor, a different, everything is different. So
Totally.
I was constantly having to sort of morph myself or adapt myself just to fit in.
But that's got to like set you up for the film industry
A
perfectly,
100%.
right?
Like being a Navy kid moving around every 2 to 3 years
Yeah.
is not unlike being in the film business, where we work in this town for a period of time with this group of people, and for 8 months I'm on this series. Boom, that's done. Now I'm on a feature in another city with a whole nother subject matter, with a whole different group of people. It's that same sort of adaptability that I had to do when I was the new kid moving that I do in my work.
And do you think it set you up for sort of being able to like look at people and pretty quickly figure out like, okay, I'm going to get along with this person maybe, like, to assess people?
Yeah, assess people, yes. I mean, I call it social anthropology. I say like I'm an amateur, social anthropologist.
Aren't we all?
And I love observing people. I love people watching. One of my favorite things to do has always been, sitting on a park bench and just watching the people go by. And I can't help but imagine their backstory, as that couple. And my wife and I, for years, we would sit down in Fells Point in Baltimore, watch people like, oh, look at this motherfucker here. I bet he's a this or a that, and she's that. You build these worlds around these strangers.
That's awesome.
Just for the sake of conversation.
Your own version of television, basically.
Yeah,
That's great.
But no, it's just like understanding the human condition, understanding, how people move through this world. Trying to understand energies of people, like, oh God, why that person's really heavy. They're not even saying anything, but there's a weight to them.
Yeah.
All of those things I'm very interested in, the psychology of people, how people interact with one another, just as an amateur observer. So I'm always looking at that. And I do think that informs me as a production designer, because you're designing these sets that, I think it was Jeff Bridges. I read in an article a long time ago. Jeff Bridges said something, and I'm paraphrasing. I love production designers because they remind me who I am and where I'm supposed to be.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
I love that idea, and that is my job as a production designer, is to remind the actor who they are and where they're supposed to be. So I think about thresholds all the time.
What do you mean by thresholds?
Well, thresholds in life. I think about how we carry ourselves through this world. So, for example, you're outside on the street, you're waiting in line to get into a club. You're carrying yourself in a certain way. You're posturing in a certain way. As you get closer to that door, you're getting more excited. As soon as you go in, you cross that threshold, your body language is very different than what it was outside. And as you enter that club even further, your body language is going to go through a lot of different changes in the way that you carry yourself. When you go up to the bar, you're going to saddle up to the bar in a much different way than you would be sitting at a table with a cocktail. So I'm always thinking about how people interact with the space. And if I can put emotional triggers or visual clues around the set, so if not in a club, say, but in an actor's bedroom, I spend a lot of time imagining who that character is.
That's amazing. Like, you just gave me a window into how much thought goes into this, where I stupidly am like thinking someone went, well, it'd be nice if there was a window over there. That would look good. But there's a whole bunch. I mean, I don't mean to belittle it. I just never thought about it like that. That's incredible.
So I don't know how other production designers work. I was not trained to be a production designer. I came into being a production designer just in a very different way than a lot of production designers get there. I'm going to back up.
I was going to say,
and
we
I got to
way ahead
answer
of
your
us.
question.
Yeah. So you went to college in Baltimore.
I went to UMBC in Baltimore. I decided that, when I graduated, I just wanted to take a year off and do my artwork, ride my motorcycle, travel, just fuck
And
off.
was your thought, I'll go out and I'll be a professional
I had
photographer, or you
nope.
just liked it? So,
I graduated with, I think I was magna cum laude, double degree. I'm taking a year off. I've spent 16 years in school.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a year for me. So I ended up finding this loft in Fells Point, which was just a shell of a building. It was a second floor.
Fells Point is in
Baltimore, Maryland.
In Baltimore.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like a neighborhood or something?
It's a neighborhood. Actually, Robert Ripley wrote about Fells Point in the 40s in one of his strips.
Really?
Yeah, that there are more blocks in a 3-block radius in Fells Point than anywhere in the world. And it's true.
Great.
I mean, I would say it's maybe 4-block radius, but there are so many bars and restaurants and shops. Like when I lived down there, I didn't even have to use a car.
I've never. This is someplace because next time I'm going through Maryland, I'm gonna check it out.
Go to Fells Point.
Very cool.
But yeah, so I took a year off to do my own personal artwork. I wanted to write poetry and stories, and I wanted to make art, and I wanted to travel, and I just wanted to fuck off.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting a loft in this one building, and this building is very magical. It's 1726 Thames Street. The first floor was the Daily Grind Coffee House, which was the first coffee house in Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay.
Behind that, on the first floor, was an embroidery studio.
Okay.
Directly above the coffee shop was an art cinema house called the Orpheum Theater.
Awesome.
And then behind the theater on the second floor was my artist loft space.
What a cool place to be.
It was on the water.
Oh my God.
It was right in Fells
What year
Point.
are we talking about here?
I moved there in 1991.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Right on the water, cobblestone streets. It was a rear screen projection theater. So I lived behind the projection booth. So my bed, and it was a shell when I bought it. So I ended up putting in a bathroom. I kind of put a kitchen in, but not really. I built a loft bed, but for the most part, it was just one big open creative space for myself.
Wait, could you hear like the projector going when they were
I
filming
heard
movies?
every movie through the walls for the 9 years that I lived there.
That's awesome.
It was fantastic.
Awesome.
And I had free. So I'm like, okay, I got this apartment. Coffee shop's getting ready to open. I go down to the people that are building out the coffee shop and say, hey, I was wondering if you guys have any employees. And they said, well, we haven't started the hiring process yet. And I said, well, I'd be interested. I live upstairs, or I'm moving in upstairs, and I can keep an eye on the property, and I would love to work here. And, I ended up working there.
Amazing.
And I kid you not, I could walk out of my loft. There was an old-fashioned hand-pull rope elevator. I'd go in, and it lets me out in the back of the coffee shop.
Wait a minute. You literally would put
A hand pull, yep.
so it's over pulleys. So it's
One giant pulley.
So you're pulling up your own weight.
Correct.
How hard must that be?
It was easy.
Really?
Yeah, it was really freaking cool. This whole building just oozed creative everything, right?
Amazing.
And so I see all these white walls in the shop, in the coffee shop. I'm like, fuck, I want to start.
Just because it's new.
Just because it's brand new.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody had a real solid game plan about what this coffee shop was going to be. I mean, honestly, my cafe au laits were the same as cappuccinos. You couldn't tell one from the other.
So you were not like the barista.
No. And when we first opened, we just had one of those little at home, like a high end,
Mr. Coffee kind of thing.
Well, it was more than that, but
yeah.
like the espresso machine was a consumer or prosumer.
It wasn't the copper
No.
Italian.
It became that very soon after.
Yeah.
But anyway, I decided, and I went to the owner, David Key, and I said, I want to start curating art exhibits. Would you mind if? And I think that we can have openings that
wow.
would be bring people
Because
in.
this is a whole artist community anyway. You get those people
Yes.
there already. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I started doing. And then my wife, who was my friend at the time, Shelby, she and I are sort of meeting with artists. They're coming in, they're showing their portfolios. We're
So did you just like put? I mean, 1991. Is this pre-internet?
it was right at the time where, like, when we opened, there was no internet.
Okay. So is it just word of mouth? You just like
Just
everybody
word of
came
mouth.
in, you're like,
Yep.
hey, we got this place. And
Yep.
yeah.
And you're getting the city paper every Wednesday, and
Amazing.
you're going to the Charles Seat. I mean, Baltimore is also called Small-Timor. I mean, it is a very small community.
Okay.
So it just became this creative hub, and in the process, people are. I meet people, and John Waters' Dreamland. John Waters, being
We're
from
talking
Baltimore.
about the John Waters.
The John Waters, the director, writer,
Because
director.
from
Yeah,
big Baltimore, right? I mean, he grew up there, or at least
yeah,
he lived
born
there.
and
Okay,
raised.
Born
yeah.
and raised. Okay.
Yep. So he and all his friends are coming into the coffee shop, and
Was he a known entity? Like, did you know who he was?
Oh, sure.
Like, he
Yeah.
was already a known director, and
Yeah.
I'd lose track of timing of everything.
he was already known.
Okay,
Yeah. Anyway, long story short, socially, I was friends with John Waters. I was friends with Pat Moran. I was friends with George Figgs, who actually owned the theater. Sue
wow.
Lowe. These are all people that were in his movies. Well, they all still lived in Fells Point.
And so he used local people, man.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. So you get to know all these people, and it's a big community. Well, then Homicide: Life on the Street comes to town, and they set up shop right across the street from
Barry Levinson?
Barry Levinson
Yeah.
and Tom Fontana.
Because that
and
was a
David
big deal.
Simon.
Like they shot it on location and the grittiness and whatever.
Correct.
Yeah.
So season 1, they're shooting right across the street. So then you're having the cast are coming over to get coffee.
Sure.
You've got Ned Beatty and Richard Belzer and Yaphet Kotto, and like all these people are coming in and out of the grind. During a lighting setup, half the actors would come across the street just to get a cup of coffee. And,
Sure.
and I worked there, so I got to know them. And so socially for this year, I'm knowing all these people. And then I end up getting a job. I can't even remember what the name of it was, but it was a bunch of people from the John Waters world. It was basically like a props and sets kind of thing. They did commercials and
Okay.
things like that. And I worked in their shop for a good bit.
When you say worked in their shop, doing what?
Anything that they needed, whether it was sweeping floors, cutting wood, painting wood,
You were the
helping,
guy. We need an extra hand with this. and
Exactly,
whatever.
helping to make props
By
or
the way,
set pieces.
and so that must have been invaluable, right? Because you're learning whatever someone needs you to learn that day. or to
Absolutely,
figure out.
it's a training ground.
Yeah,
And
I mean, the thing for me was I was a PA on Tremors on the miniature effects unit, and day one I was just getting coffee and food, and then suddenly the gaffer's like, I need someone to help me lighting. Come here, you know how to light? No. Okay, here's how you do it. Put up this lamp. I mean, building miniatures, everything, and it was just like the best thing for me was nobody expected me to necessarily be good at it. They just expected me to pick it up.
Yeah.
So it's I mean, the reason I bring it up and mention that is because I think that there's something really valuable to being the lowest person on the totem pole. If people are willing to give you a shot to learn things.
100%. And I went in knowing nothing. I mean, I had a creative background
Sure.
just because of my interest in photography and art history and paint. My mother was a painter, hobby painter. My dad was a photographer, hobby. But they didn't make careers of it, but very passionate photographers and painter. So I grew up going to. My mom would go to an art show in the park and set up her paintings. I grew up going to art supply stores.
That's awesome.
My dad had a dark room in the house. I grew up watching images come to life in the tray in the dark room. Like I was so inspired by them creatively.
It's so funny that you say that because I've talked about this before. My dad was an amateur photographer, and we had a darkroom in the basement, which scared the crap out of me because it was the basement. But I would go down there with him, and I remember agitating the fixer or
The
developer, and watching the images come to life. And I remember sort of like guessing at what it would look like and how it would come out. And there's no question that part of my understanding of framing is from watching the
The
it's
image
almost like
come
watching
up.
the Polaroid come to life.
Yeah. No,
It's
it was
really
it
amazing.
was really a magical experience.
I love
I was in second grade. I think it's the first time I remember, watching my dad develop some of his prints, or
It's amazing.
yeah, it was just really a powerful moment. So yeah, everything is creative. I'm in this building that has art house movies and John's old cast members and new cast members across the street filming, and it was just this fucking mixing pot of just
It sounds amazing.
creative energy
Yeah.
in every direction.
That's so cool.
And so, and I think the thing about Baltimore, I think I'm going to make a sweeping generalization, but people in Baltimore are not impressed by you or what you do, or like
you do you.
you do you.
Yeah.
It's just like everybody's down to where I don't give a fuck who you are.
Yeah.
So I'm in this creative thing. I'm out of college.
Did you have an inkling that like maybe I want to get into film?
I was flirting with the idea of television,
Okay.
or movies. Either one, because I'm getting tastes every
Sure,
day. I'm
that's
getting
what
glimpses.
yeah.
I go out one day and they've got they're shooting out in front of the squad room, and there they are. So yeah, it definitely really enticed me, really captured my attention. I started thinking like, I think might want to do this, but I didn't know anything about it. And then John Waters at the time, he had just written Serial Mom, and he invited me. I think we were gonna go to the BMA or the museum, but he invited me to his house and asked me. He wanted me to read Serial Mom, the script. So
That's cool.
I had never read a script before. And so here I am in John's living room. He hands me Serial Mom, and you had to read it in his house. You couldn't take it with you.
Okay.
It
All
had
right.
to be.
Gotcha.
So I remember just laying.
For some reason, I have this feeling that maybe he typed it on an old like Underwood or something like that.
No, it was
Probably
a
not,
type
but-
script, but he does everything longhand. He writes.
Okay, so there you go.
longhand.
And forgive me for not knowing this, but like, is he an artist outside of filmmaking as
Oh,
well?
yes.
I mean, does he paint? Does he? He seems like he's all over the place.
He doesn't paint, so it's really interesting. So John, and it was around this time, late 90s, or I'm sorry, late 1990, early 91ish, where he's doing his own artwork, and he's doing photography, and he's basically taking images of different movie frames on his TV and then creating his own sequences
cool.
of images. And so yeah, he was, I think, in the early stages of doing his art career, you know. But over time, he's done sculptures. I can show you in the other room some books of his work.
Oh,
But,
okay.
yeah,
All right.
he definitely has a full career outside of
That's
being
what I
a
thought.
writer,
I had
director.
I had a feeling of it, and I think I've
Yeah.
seen stuff. I just wasn't sure. But go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm in his living room. I'm reading Serial Mom, and I finished it. I'm like, oh man, John, I don't know when you're ever going to make this movie, but I sure would like to work in the art department or something. I think this is really exciting. And he said something to the effect of, well, I just write them. I don't hire anybody. You got to talk to Vince. Vince is John's longtime, from day one in the 60s, has been John's production designer.
Okay, gotcha.
And I knew he lived in Fells Point.
Yeah.
He would come in the coffee shop with his wife, Dolores Deluxe. But the two of them were in part of John's world from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So I end up writing a letter to Vince Perenio, even though I, knew him. I wrote him a letter, and it was basically, I would like to maybe work in the art department.
Like, does he know who you are, you think? Or
Yeah, he
like
does.
I'm
He
the
knows
guy
who I
gives
am.
you your coffee or whatever?
He knows who I am socially.
Yeah, okay,
And
so
from being a part of the
I got you.
neighborhood.
Okay.
Yeah. Because he was production designing Homicide across the street,
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
season 1. Oh, so I write Vince a letter. I'm making $130 a week slinging coffee, right? Vince
Out of
comes
curiosity,
in.
how much is your rent?
My rent was $400 a month,
Overlooking the water.
overlooking the
Yeah,
water.
nice.
Yeah, it was.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I had no heat, no air conditioning,
It's okay.
no insulation, and,
And
no
you can
kitchen.
hear the projector going on.
And I
all
could
the
hear the
time.
projection.
Projector.
Yeah. So I write a letter to Vince. He invites me out to brunch with he and his wife and another couple. And I'm really nervous. It's right down the street at the Admiral Fell Inn. We're having a brunch, and they're ordering, eggs Florentine and mimosas and Bloody Marys and all this stuff. I'm ordering the basic breakfast,
Yeah,
the
toast.
2 eggs, a piece of toast, and some grits, and a cup of coffee, and they're living it up. At the end of the brunch, the check comes, and Dolores says, "Oh, well, let's just split it 5 ways." Well, I wasn't drinking mimosas, and I wanted to impress, and so I didn't say anything. I paid a fifth of the bill, which is way more than I could afford. We're walking outside, and I'm thinking to myself, God damn it, I just spent all that money, and I haven't even talked about
It's like a week's wages.
my
or whatever.
interest in
Yeah.
wanting to be in the
Oh,
film. So
man.
we get out on the sidewalk, and Vince says to me, "So you want to be in the film business?" And I said, "Well, I'm definitely interested. I don't know anything about it, but I think I would definitely be interested in learning more about the art department
Yeah.
and being in the art department." And he said, "Where do you live?" And I said, "Above the grind." He's like, "Well, let's go." And I said, "You want to go to my place?" He goes, "Yeah, I want to see your vibe."
Wow.
And I said, "Okay." So we walked in, got on this, he went into my loft, and it was not unlike what you see here. I was, what was I, 23 or something?
Okay.
I did not have the place of a 23-year-old. I had already been collecting artwork
Okay.
and
You'd been
books.
curating
And I
and-
mean,
yeah.
I was already, it looked like a museum
Sure.
at that point. So Vince walks in, and I mean, I had a Victorian 1-horse open sleigh hanging from my ceiling. I had sousaphones and parasols and bicycle parts. Like
So
my
you come by all this honestly. I mean, this is who you are.
this is me.
That's
Yeah.
great. He
And-
must have just been in awe.
And
I
he
mean,
just walked in, and he's just like, "Oh my God, he says, "You got it." And I said, "I got what?" He says, "You got an eye."
that's
And I
great.
said, "Oh, well, thank you." And he said, I'll let you know whenever it comes around." And so when Serial Mom did go into production, I was hired as a prop assistant.
Wow.
So lowest man on the totem pole in the prop department.
Yeah.
I spent a good portion of that show on set.
That's what was my next question. So you're on set. Okay.
On set.
Do you remember being sort of overwhelmed by like, what is this and who does everything?
100%.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this machine? Like,
Yeah.
there are people everywhere doing all kinds of
Serial
different
Mom
things.
was it independent movie
It was
or
a
was that
feature
already
film. It was
a
New Line
studio
Cinema.
movie?
New Line Cinema.
So, but it was sort of like a big studio picture for him anyway.
Oh,
right?
sure. Yeah. So at that time, he had already done, I mean, his early movies, Pink Flamingos,
Sure.
Multiple
But
Maniacs.
he hadn't done Hairspray yet. Or
He had,
that-
yes, he'd done
Okay,
Hairspray.
so he was at that level. I got
He had
you.
already done
Yeah,
Hairspray,
okay.
and he had already done Crybaby.
Crybaby.
This
yeah,
was
okay. Gotcha. Yep.
the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a big production.
It's a big production. I mean, I don't know what the budget was,
Yeah,
and I
but I
have
mean-
no other show to compare it to.
Yeah.
But for me, it was my first film, and it was exciting. And
Yeah.
I didn't know that different departments had their own equipment. And I remember one time the guy I was working with, Brooke, was the prop master. He said, "Hey, can you go grab a ladder?" And so I just saw a ladder on set. I just grabbed it and
Oh.
brought it over. And one of the key grips, I don't think he was the key grip. Anyway, one of the grips, Dave Wilkins, who's since passed away, he said he was following me around the set as I was carrying this
Where are you
ladder.
going with my
Yeah,
ladder?
where are you going? And I had a tape roll over my shoulder. I don't know whose tape. I just saw tape there, and he said, "Bring the tape," and so there was tape. So, yeah, I was.
Yeah.
I didn't know
I hear you.
the rules,
Okay.
but I spent a lot of time watching other departments and what do they do and what do they do. And I remember thinking it was so ridiculous. I was dressing a set, and I plugged one of the lamps in, and one of the electricians was like, you don't do that. Like, what do you mean I can't plug a lamp in? And so I didn't know those
You
different.
mean a practical
a
lamp that
practical
was on
on
the
set,
thing?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't
Sure.
know those
Well, how were you
different
going?
departments. I didn't.
Right. But that said, that's why I asked that question, because if you'd gone into something totally low budget and independent, there are going to be a number of people who maybe are starting out. But most of the people there, other than you, probably were already like
Correct.
established, if you want.
Correct. Yeah. And so it was a steep learning curve. I had a blast. I took pictures all throughout the whole show. I mean, I didn't know that you couldn't take pictures, and I'm taking pictures just because I'm a compulsive camera
Yeah.
picture taker.
Sure.
So yeah, it was a really good learning experience. I tell you, there's we did this one scene. I was in the prop truck making the Serial Mom prop books. So when Serial Mom is on trial, Kathleen Turner's character is on trial. Ricky Lake's character has a booth outside the courthouse, and they're selling pennants and
Memorabilia.
shirts,
Yeah,
and yeah.
I
So
gotcha.
and one of them was the Serial Mom book. So I was spray 77. I was basically making all the books.
Yeah.
Using spray adhesive in the prop truck, and Brooke calls me over the radio. He's like, "Hey, I need you on set," and I said, "Okay, but I gotta wash my hands. I'm filthy." He's like, "I need you on set right now."
So you're covered with 77 straight.
And truck dirt, right?
Nice.
Prop truck dirt,
God.
and
Yeah. Good stuff.
my hands are filthy.
I
And
remember this. I'm like flashing back to being a PA because with miniatures, it was 77 spray.
yes, and
all
I'm
day.
covered in it,
Which,
right?
by the way, for anybody who doesn't know, is this adhesive spray that's just like, it's rough.
Yeah, and so I make it into set, and we're shooting in the Sutphin house, which is the main house for Serial Mom, and it's the breakfast scene where Kathleen Turner is serving breakfast to Sam Waterston, Matthew Lillard, Ricky Lake, and Brooke needed help resetting, so she's scooping out fruit salad, and then Sam's buttering toast, and they're drinking orange juice. So I was called in to help reset everything. So Brooks doing the props, cut. I come in, I bring the fruit bowl, I put all the fruit back in the fruit, and so I'm resetting.
Yeah.
After about 3 or 4 takes, Brooke came over to me and he says, "Hey Jeff, let me see your hands."
You're working with food. Yeah.
Yeah. And I showed him my hands. He's like, "Go to the truck." And I said, "What happened?" He's like, "Dude, just go to the fucking truck. I'll tell you later." And I'm like, I'm numb. I'm thinking I fucked up. Like, what did I do?
You were
Oh my
doing
God.
what you were told, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after the scene, Brooke comes to the prop truck, and I'm like, what happened? What did I do? He's like, "Dude, look at your fucking hands. Your fingernails are long. You got dirt everywhere. Kathleen Turner noticed your hands resetting the food. She went over.
She's eating.
And
Yeah.
she's serving it. She's not
serving,
eating.
they're
But
eating, yeah.
she knows, and she goes up to the AD, whose name is Mary Ellen, and she says, "Mary Ellen, I would like to request that this greaser be removed from set due to filth."
That's fantastic.
Due to filth.
Due to filth.
And I'm like, "Well, Brooke, I told you I had to wash
Yeah.
my hands."
Well.
He's like, "Yeah, but Kathleen was pissed." So we're at the catering.
This is the beginning of the show, middle of the show?
It's probably in the first couple of weeks.
So this is a first impression.
Oh
time
yeah,
still.
I don't know
Okay.
anything about set etiquette,
Yeah, sure.
and
And again, you were doing what you were told.
I was doing what I was told.
Yeah,
I'm learning. So we're in line to the catering truck, and some of the trucks have the ice that they have the drinks in. You can get your ice, or your coffee, and your tea. And so I reach into the ice to grab a drink, and John Waters is behind me. I didn't see him, and he goes, "Oh no, you don't, Pigpen." And I said, "What?" He says, "You're too filthy." And I said, "Oh shit." So
Oh my god.
so he started calling me Pigpen, which that name ended up sticking for many years. They called me Pigpen.
Oh my gosh.
And I ended up having a hat made that said Greaser that very next day, and I wore it to set to sort of spite Kathleen.
I was
Turner.
gonna say, like, you wore it, you sat in it.
I did
and,
it.
Okay.
But that was that was
That's
sort of
great.
a standout moment as a prop person on Serial Mom. Mm-hmm. But it was a terribly exciting experience to just observe every department, learn how the machine works, learn how who does what, and
But I think there's something really important in that, because like we've all had those moments. I don't think I've ever had a pig pen moment, but we all have embarrassing stuff and whatever. And you didn't let it take you down. Like mentally, you went, okay, I'm going to learn from this, and I'm going to get better. And by the way, I can also laugh at wearing the hat, like you said. I can laugh at myself. I screwed up.
I screwed up. I still have it. It says Greaser right on
That's
it.
awesome.
And
that's great.
I did go at the wrap party. I was taking pictures too, and I remember going up to Kathleen and just saying, "Hey, Kathleen, can we talk about that?" And she goes, "Well," and so we did talk about it, and I broached the subject with her, and I said, I was really upset that I had upset you. And she goes, well, Jeffrey, you simply have to understand that we're dealing with food, darling. And, I can't do her, but she gives me
No,
this
that's
whole
pretty
thing.
close though, actually.
But yeah, I mean, I faced it head on, and I really went and was like, I need to understand why it was so upsetting.
But you just said something really interesting that I'm sure resonated with her. I think if you had said, I was really upset that you said that I was a greaser, it would have been a different conversation then. I was really upset that I had upset you.
Yes.
And because that shows, like, I want to know how not to upset.
Oh, exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
I want to be better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Serial Mom was just a fantastic experience.
That's great. Was that like a month and a half or something like that? Or?
No, it was the summer of
a couple months.
92 or
Right.
93.
So
I
you
think.
come out of that and you're like,
I'm
I know
feeling-
how this works, and I know,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know everything, but I can do something.
Yeah, and even though I was in 487 because of budgetary reasons, they couldn't officially give me an IA rate, even though I was in the union.
Oh, okay. All
So I
right.
wasn't, even though I was third props, I was not.
But you're still probably making,
I made
compared to the coffee house, yes.
so many props.
Yeah.
In fact, recently, John Waters, there was a retrospective of John's career at the Academy Museum in Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah, I think I knew about that.
And the curators contacted me, and for about a year and a half I was going through all my old props from all the different John Waters movies
how
that I had
cool.
done, and photos I had taken behind the scenes and little video clips, and it was really exciting. So I ended
Amazing.
up sending a huge portion of the props that I made
Oh, cool.
to be witnessed by the public in
Yeah.
LA. It was
Oh, that's really
fantastic.
neat. That's really
and
cool.
there's if you watch Serial Mom, there's a ransom note that's made.
Yeah.
I made this ransom note by cutting out letters.
Oh, that's like an iconic thing.
Yeah, and it says, I'll get you pussy face was the note. So
Uh-huh.
I'm in the prop truck. I'm got just tons of magazines. I'm cutting out letters, and I'm, just placing them dry on the paper, trying to get a nice, and I got it to a point where I really liked it. And in the process, I had found a little smiley face in a magazine. So I cut that out and put it at the end.
Yeah.
And when I showed it to John, I said, do you mind the smiley face? I put the smiley face on because every time my mom would write a note for me, she would draw a little smiley face.
Oh, that's so
and I think it's
great.
very, Serial Mom.
It's still a
for
mom.
yes, it's still
this
a
is
mom.
horrible thing, but
So we do, I'll get you pussy face. And I put the smiley face, showed it to John. He goes, that's great. I think he had me change one letter out or something like that. And then I said, well, what about the TV version and the airplane version? I said, what do we say? He goes, I'll get you prune face. So then I made an I'll get you
that's
prune
kind of
face.
amazing that you were thinking of that, though, because this is your first show.
It's my first show. Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned it from hearing somebody else talk
Sure,
about it.
you picked up on it.
Yeah, you
Right.
got to do a TV take and an airplane take, and then you
Yeah.
got your release.
Yeah.
So when we went to this, the museum opening in LA 2 years ago, there was a woman there that had taken my I'll get you pussy face ransom note. She had it printed and made into a full dress. Again, so she had taken a prop that I made in the
That's
prop truck,
so cool.
including the smiley face,
Yeah.
and had worn it, made a dress out of it. I mean, it was the ultimate
Like
form
homage
of flattery.
or
Or,
something,
yeah, it was like,
or-
wow, this is incredible.
That's really neat. And did you explain to her that you had made that and what that meant to you? or
No, I
you
didn't
just-
talk to her.
just
I
wanted-
was
Yeah,
pretty
let it be.
quiet
Yeah.
and humble about
That's
what
really
I do.
cool.
But
That's really
that
neat.
was a really important.
Yeah, well,
moment
like,
for
I
me.
mean, I think when you do something like that and it becomes part of the zeitgeist,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, now that you mention it, when I think back to the ad campaign of that show, it seems like that is somewhere in there. I can visualize that.
Yeah, that painting right there of Don Knotts. That was the first prop I ever made. I'm going to grab it real quick.
This is great. I'm going to take a picture of this and post it on the thing. But so this is the first prop you ever made for what? For
anything.
I mean, what was it for?
It's for Serial Mom.
Oh, this is for Serial Mom.
Yeah, so I'm on my first movie, and the first prop I'm asked to make is a flea market painting of Don Knotts. And
Which this definitely is.
and John just let me go. I was like, "What do you want?" He's like, "It's a painting. It's like a not very good version of Don Knotts painting." So that was the first prop I ever painted. It also ended up being the first time I was on screen because I was cast to play the flea market boy who buys the painting
You're in
from
the
Ricky
movie.
Lake. Yeah. So there's one. So I paint this prop. We haven't shot it yet, that scene. Pat Moran called. She's the casting director for John. She calls me into her office, and I said, "Hey, Pat, you wanted to see me?" She goes, "Come in, shut the door, sit down, and shut up," or
I can do
something
all
like
those
that.
things.
Yeah. So I do, and I said, "What's going on?" And her assistant hands me some sides, and I said, "What's going on?" She goes, "You're auditioning, dummy." And I said, "I'm auditioning for what?" She goes, "Do you think you're going to be the flea market boy or the flea market girl?" And I said, "Flea market boy." She goes, "Right. So read it." So impromptu, I audition to be the flea market boy, and I end up getting the part. And so I'm on set in a scene buying this painting that I
That you
painted
painted.
from Ricky
Oh,
Lake.
this is great. I'm going to have to find this clip and put it on.
Before Kathleen Turner comes in with the fire poker, having just killed somebody in the bathroom.
Did you ever find it? Did John Waters say he'd be great for it? Get him?
He's
or-
the one that asked Pat to cast me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
So that was my first speaking role, first time on camera, and first prop.
Man, you kind of hit it out of the park on your first gig. Then.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean,
Wow.
I learned so much on that show. I mean, just watching, we shot it in the heat of the summer, and it was a fall movie. And I remember walking into the courthouse grounds in Towson. We were shooting a big sequence there, and the art department were on lifts and ladders painting all the leaves fall colors, and I'm thinking, wow, this is so magical. Like,
I know, right?
As a person who's never been on set, to
Yeah.
see the level of detail that's going in,
So cool.
it was fantastic. So that movie ended, and then we had a couple of months off, and then season 2 of Homicide comes around,
Okay.
and basically everybody that was on the John Waters show, Serial Mom, moved over to Homicide season 2.
That's his crew, right? Yeah. And
But he had nothing to do with Homicide, but we all went over as a group.
Yeah.
And we ended up doing that show, I think 7 seasons.
But I mean, the production designer was his production
Vince,
designer.
correct.
Was over there,
Yep,
so he just
yep,
pulled his,
yep.
Yeah, that's great.
Same family. So Vince Perenio was the production designer that I worked with more than any other production designer. I mean, I did 7 years of Homicide with him. I worked
7 years.
So I think I did 114 out of 123
All in
episodes
the
as a prop.
all in
Yes,
the prop department.
correct.
And did you get up? I mean, did you move up the ranks?
I did. So the first 2 seasons, I was third props, but I was the on-set prop person.
Okay.
The second was in the truck and doing the shopping. The prop master was doing the meetings and other things. I was on set. So
Yep.
the bulk of my career as a prop person, I was the on-set prop person,
Okay.
and I loved every single second of it.
That's
I
great.
thrived on that environment. I started out as third props, and I think by season 5, I was the assistant prop master.
Wow.
Until the end. I loved watching the blocking rehearsals. I would memorize everybody's dialogue for the day.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I would read the sides. I would know everybody's dialogue.
Is that something that you already had that ability, or something you?
It's just something I did.
Yeah.
I didn't. Nobody told me to. I wanted to.
No, but I mean, do you have that ability to read like a book and remember it all? Like you have?
I have a pretty good memory.
Yeah, you're
my
already in
memory
that.
recall is pretty good.
That's impressive.
But it's also, I would say, one thing that prop master Brooks said to me. He says, to be a good prop master, you want to know where everything is. So as you're driving down the road, just mentally log, oh, there's a printer, there's a hardware, there's a this, there's a that.
because
so
something might come up.
something might come up.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
and then also the continuity. So, understanding continuity on the desk, and we took Polaroids, and, you reset, and I would every day challenge myself. I would take the picture, but I would try to reset it without pulling out the
And then pull it
the
out
Polaroid,
and
and then I
make
would
sure
pull it out
yeah.
to see if I was good. And so I really tried to.
God, remember those days where you had that ring with the massive
All the Polaroids,
Polaroid?
yes.
What did they end up in a warehouse somewhere
I still have 'em.
eventually?
I have.
You're
I
the
saved
guy.
everything.
Yeah. Wow.
So learning continuity, learning the importance of continuity, being a prop person, it was the best thing that could ever happen to
That's
me.
fantastic. And also, it sounds like you're in a great show and a great group of people.
Yeah.
You're still living behind the
Oh yeah.
behind the theater all this time.
Yeah, if we had a 20-minute lighting setup, sometimes I just go to my loft across the street and get a cup of coffee or whatever.
This just sounds
I mean,
like
it's
the
just
dream, man.
I joked. It's like I go to work, I get in the elevator, the hand pull elevator, I fall into a cup of coffee because I had keys to the coffee shop, so I was allowed
man.
to make coffee before I went to work because I would oftentimes go before they opened.
Yep.
And then I'd stumble across the cobblestone streets and I'd be on set. And it ended up being, yeah, I think 7 years. And you know what was great about doing props on Homicide is that we had a new director every 7 days. It took us 7 days to film 1 hour of television.
Yep.
Every 7 days, we get a new director. And what I learned being a prop person working with different directors is that there are so many different kinds of directors. You've got your directors who are solely into the word and the performance. You've got other directors who are into the camera movement and the technicality of how we tell this visual story. Then you've got other directors who are into the hyper detail, the super minutia, and want to get into all the little details that help describe the scene. And so to learn all these different styles of directing, I had to adapt to accommodate each different style.
Sure.
And it was just the best education I could have ever had in the film business is working on Homicide: Life on the Street.
Were you aware that you were getting that education at the time, or is it only after the fact that you realized
I was conscious of it. I wanted to be really good, and I wanted to learn everything. I wanted to understand. I thought to myself early on, in order to be a good prop person, I need to understand what every single person does in every other department.
I think that goes with it. Should be that way for every person on the set, because the more you know, number one, the more you can sort of like figure out what other people need and hopefully help with that. But also, you can also tell when people are bullshitting.
Yeah,
which is
and I knew nothing, so I was a sponge.
Yeah.
I watched everything. I listened to everything. I mean, I jokingly say I was a method prop guy, but I'm serious about it too, because for me, and this is years of experience as a prop person talking now, but it was very important to me to really understand who that character was. And so I would, as I'm reading and getting the props or making the props, what kind of person am I? If I was this actor, if I was playing this role, would I have a watch? Would I carry this? Would I carry that? Would I be? So I'm going through all this stuff in my head.
Yeah.
And what I realized and what I started practicing is that as a prop person, I didn't want to just deliver what was on the page. I wanted to offer up things that really step back from the dialogue and were more sort of global in describing these characters.
Well, know what I'm hearing from you, which I resonates so much for me, is there's this thing of like camera assistants and operators and dolly grips. I always say, like, I want someone who knows how to, like dolly grip wise, move from A to B, but I need someone who knows why they're moving from A to B. And what you're saying, that sort of resonates for me, because it's not like, does he have a watch, but why does he have a watch?
Yeah.
And as a result, what type of watch does he have?
Yes.
It's fantastic. And all this, what really all this is, though, is at the end of the day, it's storytelling, right?
It's visual storytelling.
Again, it's like, why does he have that watch? Oh, he's got that watch because I read that, he was on expedition to Mount Everest, and that's what they would have, but it would have a crack in it. Or whatever it is. I don't know. Yeah. But, and the thing that I love about it is, like, may make it on screen, may not make it on screen, but that actor is probably looking at that and then taking it and making it their own. And it just,
yeah. And I'll tell you something, I've said this before in other interviews, but it is an important moment. It's like, I was on set. It's an ensemble cast. We've got everybody in the squad room. I think that all the first 9 on the call sheet are in the squad room, and it's a big thing, and people are moving from here to there, and the director wants this person to hit the mark over here, but the DP wants them over there because the light is this, and I'm watching this blocking rehearsal, and I'm hearing the needs of the DP, I'm also hearing the needs of the director, and I'm also hearing the needs and the frustration from the actors. And Melissa Leo was the one in this particular scene where she was really frustrated that her character had to walk from this side of the stage to that side of the stage on set to deliver the line. The director really needed her to be over there, and she was having a really hard time.
Just the blocking wasn't working.
The blocking
for her.
wasn't working
Yeah.
for her, and she couldn't understand why her character would go. I don't have any motivation to go there.
Yeah.
And so I'm just listening to all the back and forths and the problems, and we finished the rehearsal, and I went up to Melissa and I said, Melissa, I understand you were having difficulty understanding why your character would be over there. She goes, I know, it's really frustrating. I'm gonna do it. And I said, well, I want to offer something to you. Remember in the couple episodes ago, you were working on such and such a case, and it's still an ongoing case. What if I make a fax that pertains to this case that comes through to the fax machine where he wants you to be, that motivates you to go over? And she said, that would be perfect. So a simple thing, a simple prop and a simple suggestion from a prop guy of just having a fax made the scene more real for her.
That's fantastic. Well, but also listening to you do it, it's not, you didn't just say, what if I had a fax over there I needed to get? You actually like created a storyline, part of the storyline that like, is not only, this is an important fax that, you know, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
I love that
It had to
stuff.
pertain to her. It had to work for her.
Yeah.
So Homicide was the best education
That's
I
great.
could have ever had. We got to be a real machine. I mean, we were a prop department of 3 full-time. Sometimes we'd have additionals, but like we would move. It wasn't unheard of to have 3 or 4 company moves a day. It wasn't unheard of to shoot, 15, 20 pages of dialogue in a day. We were a machine.
You have to be, or else you're never going to make it.
You have to be. And we had, and you gotta understand too that the context or the time period when we were making this show was sort of in the heyday of the indie darling films. So we were getting guest directors from the independent world, like Alan Taylor, who did Palookaville, and Nick Gomez. We had Steve Buscemi direct an episode.
Oh, that's great.
So what was interesting as a young prop person is seeing these indie people who weren't, old filmmakers. They were new filmmakers in this new
They
language.
weren't
this new-
old TV guys, and they were actually
No,
trying different
and so there was a
things.
freshness and a lot of innovation. And because it was a handheld
really cool.
show,
Yeah.
we did a lot of things that you couldn't do on a show that was dolly. In fact, we didn't have sticks. Sticks never came out. It was handheld
Always on someone's
16,
shoulder.
or you're on a butt dolly, or it was really incredible to be a part of that at that time.
That's cool.
And, directors coming in wanting really interesting shots that would involve equipment that wasn't even made. And I remember the key grip Joe Kurtz and the gaffer Josh Spring, they were having pipe bent to make certain shots possible. We were really innovating as we went throughout the season.
That just sounds like a dream.
It was a dream. It really, really was. And Homicide ended up taking about 9 months a year and then 3 months off. And then, some years I would be able to get a little indie film that would fit into that hiatus. And some years I would just take off. But it continued. So I would flip-flop from 9 months of Homicide and then a feature every year. And that went on for about 18 years. And also, too, if I didn't get a prop job, because if Brooke didn't get the job as a prop master, I had to still find work. So I started working in the Swing Gang in the art department. I was a set dresser.
Now, when you say swing gang, tell people what that means?
Swing Gang, you work with the art department. You work with the lead man. The Swing Gang is going out and doing pickups and drop-offs, and you're dressing sets and glorified furniture movers.
Yeah. Okay.
Swing Gang set dresser, kind of the same thing. You're always one step ahead of the shooting crew. You're prepping it, and then the company comes in and shoots. You're going back in and stripping it back
it
and
out
resetting
after
the
the fact.
space. Yeah. So because I had so much experience working on set, oftentimes I would start a show and prep. I would be on the swing gang set dressing, and then when we got into production, I would be the on-set dresser. So that was sort of the flip-flop that I ended up doing. If I didn't get the prop gig, then I would be the on-set dresser.
Gotcha.
And that went for many, many, many years.
But it also shows you different sides of this and working with different
Absolutely.
people. I mean,
and still within the art department.
Yeah.
So, then I started doing greens. If I didn't get the set dressing job, then I'd go out for the greens department. I was on-set greensman for Night at the Museum, one or two. And so, I would just flip and flop, but always in the art department.
That's great. I have a specific camera operator prop question for you. So let's say, I'm making something up here. It's on a desk and there's a pen that, is a prop that the actor's using or whatever. And it's one of these things where the camera's right in there. We're on a wide lens. I'm close in there and I can literally reach in and mess with it after you've come in and done it. Do it, and it's not necessarily easy for you to get in there or whatever. I'll tell you what I usually do. You tell me. I mean, I think I've usually what I do is ahead of time. I'll hopefully know the prop people. Let's say it's the first day. I'll just go, hey, when I'm in there, once you've said it, are you okay if I tweak it a little bit to find the angle of it and whatever? Because how sometimes there'll be like a reflection or there'll be a little light kick or whatever, and it's something that. The only way to do it is to be watching the camera and turning it. It's like I can't talk you into it. I've had prop guys and women sort of get put off by that. Usually that's not the case. Usually they totally understand. But is it for a newer camera operator, is there a better way to address that?
The best way is to call the on-set dresser or the prop person and say, hey, is it possible to X, Y, and Z because I'm getting a kick or something that's not right for camera. The first and best thing to do is open a conversation with your on-set dresser and your prop person and just ask, have the decency to say, hey, do you mind if I tweak this?
Yeah, are you comfortable if I mess with this because it's specific?
My personal feeling, and this is coming from me working as an on-set dresser, representing a production designer who, I remember production designers saying, oh, when we get to the scene, it's really important that I really want to see this.
Yeah.
And then you're on the day and the DP and the director want to do something completely different. And they are shifting things around. And as an on-set dresser, I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm like, what do I do? And it's 1 a.m. I'm not calling the production designer. And it is an uncomfortable position to be in.
Sure.
But ultimately, my belief is that what happens on set is the most important thing. So
everything's leading
by the
up
time
to it,
by the
right?
time I've handed over a set and we're now filming, it's now in the hands of the DP and the director. And if they need to make adjustments for a shot or make cheats, it's on them. What I don't like is glaringly obvious cheats where a lamp will be moved in and then and another take, it's on the other side of the desk or it's gone. And that shit drives me up a fucking wall.
So I'll tell you, I'm right there with you. And welcome to my world a little bit because there's like the on-set dresser's going, but the lamp was over here. And I'm like, I know the DP has told me that the lamp should now be over there. And the DP has said, oh, nobody will notice. And of course, in my mind,
everybody knows.
In my mind, I'm going, oh, yes, they will. And I will. So, there's that thing where when you cheat it back to the point of just being on the edge of working, and then maybe the DP comes in, and then the onset, it's like a back and forth, and you're caught between people, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I do work for the DP, but on the flip side, I don't agree with the fact that nobody's going to notice that.
Yeah.
And there are shows where I have watched where, like you said, the thing that gets me more than anything are the candelabra on a table in the center of a table or something like that. So, anytime that's there, I will usually sit with the set dresser and go, okay, so here are the shots as I know them.
Yeah.
Where are we going to place these to start so that we can cheat backward, right? Because it's just like they'll pop all over the place.
Yeah. It's a tough position to be in, but my belief is that, whatever happens on set, you make the camera happy.
Yeah.
That's the most important. And I say that as a production designer now,
Sure.
and I say it as a former prop person and set dresser. Very important.
That's appreciated. But I will say that for anybody who's a younger camera operator starting out, first of all, if you can, meet the production designer and say hello and anything I can do to help because it sets the table. But then with the onset and props, you just day one, you go, hey, so excited to work with you and da 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 da. If I ever have to and I let you know, are you the type of person who's okay with, at the last minute me having to tweak something?
Yeah, it's just a conversation.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot, I don't have a really big ego, and I don't have
ego, hopefully, but,
I don't have a preciousness about things. I'm mostly interested in emotional content.
Storytelling, right?
It is. It's less about what it looks like, and it's more about what it says about the emotion of that person or that place.
So you got through homicide, and you said you got up to assistant props,
assistant prop master. Yeah,
prop master. And then did you at some point there go, I think I'd like to head towards production design or
no? I never ever aspired to be
you
a
were just
production
like
designer.
I enjoy this. I'd love to keep doing this.
The most important thing then and now is that, and I said this when I'm out of college, when my parents asked me, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? I said, the only thing that's important to me is that I'm in a creative field where I can challenge myself creatively. I just want to be in a creative field.
Yeah.
And that was
understandable.
my goal.
Yeah.
And however that came about. So somewhere around early 2000s, maybe, I was set dressing on Ladder 49. And
It's a TV show?
Movie. It was with John Travolta and Joaquin Phoenix.
Okay, I remember this. Yeah.
I think Morris Chestnut and can't remember who else. But yeah, it was a good movie. I'm a set dresser on that, and the decorator had left me and another dresser on to do Joaquin Phoenix's character's set. It was like, you guys just decorate that set.
Okay.
So we're in a brownstone in Baltimore all week long, just he and I, and it was very hot. And there was one moment where we were carrying a very long, heavy couch that was too big for the hall. It ended up getting stuck in the hallway to the point where we could both let go, and it's still wedged on the wall. And I started screaming. I was like, God damn it, I'm sick and fucking tired of doing this shit. I'm done. I'm sweating like crazy. We're in a really bad fucking neighborhood. And I was frustrated. And the guy that I was working with was equally as frustrated, and he was like, yeah, fuck this. I don't want to do this shit anymore. And I said, well, what do you want to do? He's like, I want to write. I said, me too. And I had started writing a screenplay, and he had too. So we exchanged screenplays, and we ended up writing a movie together.
Oh, no way.
That got produced.
What's the name of the movie?
The name of the movie is called Gospel Hill.
Oh, how did it come out?
Came out pretty good. It's for a couple of set dressers who had never done it before. I'm very proud.
That's great.
It was a $6 million movie.
Is it streaming? I mean,
it is. I don't know where it is now, but this is back in.
I'll post it. That's great.
2007.
Oh, how cool.
We had Samuel L. Jackson, Danny Glover, Angela Bassett,
Wow.
Taylor Kitsch, Nia Long, Adam Baldwin, Tom Bauer,
That's
the RZA from the Wu-Tang Clan, and Giancarlo Esposito. It was his directorial debut.
amazing. Wow.
Yeah. So we
that's
did
incredible.
that. And,
That's very cool.
That was while we were set dressing.
Yeah. All because the couch got caught in.
Yeah, all because but yeah, so we did that, and that sort of taught me that I can do anything I set my mind to, and then I remember after that came out, and it won a bunch of awards, and it did the festival circuit, and a lot to be proud of. And I remember being on Night at the Museum in the Greens department post all this Gospel Hill stuff. And some of the guys that I had regularly worked with were like, "Hey, what are you doing slumming with us? Aren't you a big time writer now?"
Yeah, right.
It's like, what are you talking about? Work is work. I love what I do.
Boom.
I love being a greensman. I love being an on-set dresser. I love doing props. That's just, that writing was just another thing that I did.
Huh.
So yeah, I didn't aspire to be a writer. It's just something that happened. And then I was also an actor on The Wire. I was a regular on season 2.
You were regular on The Wire?
I was.
I had no idea.
Yeah, well, I was the prop master for the pilot.
Okay.
And to go back to your earlier question, did I ever want to be a prop master? And yes, I wanted to be a prop master, but I knew that I would never become a prop master in Baltimore because Brooke was always
There, yeah.
there were a couple of prop masters already. I would never be
There just
that.
wasn't room for it.
I didn't have a kit. I didn't do anything. So
gotcha.
in order to be a prop master, I had to go out of town. So I came to Atlanta in 2000, and I was a prop master on a film called Boycott that was directed by Homicide alum Clark Johnson, who was a character on Homicide. He was now directing this movie Boycott.
Wow.
That was my first time being a prop master. So then after we do Boycott, a couple years later, Clark gets the job to direct the pilot for The Wire.
Great episode.
So he calls me.
Show, but yeah.
He calls me and says, I want you to be the prop master for the pilot.
So you've worked together.
So I was the prop master for the pilot of The Wire.
And The Wire was another big Baltimore show, right?
Big Baltimore show, another David Simon project, probably one of the most brilliant things to ever hit television.
Pretty unbelievable.
Pretty unbelievable.
And the pilot's just, jeez.
Yeah, and I'm the prop master on a pilot. And for me, I will tell you at the time, we did not know what The Wire would be. We didn't know what we were doing at the time as far as the impact it would have.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, like, holy shit, I worked on that show.
Do you remember reading the script and going, this is something special, though? Or it could be something like...
because I had done Homicide, I had done The Corner, and now I'm doing The Wire.
That's right, The Corner. Who did that?
That was David Simon as well,
okay.
and it was directed by Charles Dutton.
I haven't seen that, but that's supposed to be really good.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I'm gonna put that on the list, yeah.
When the series came, when the series got picked up, I was not invited to be the prop master. Mike Sabo was asked to be the prop master.
I did Ozark with Mike.
Yeah.
Good
So
guy.
he's also from Baltimore, and he and I had worked together on Homicide, and he was a lead man during Homicide.
Okay.
And then at the last season, he became the prop master. After they film season 1 of The Wire,
I'm sorry, you were assistant prop?
I had nothing to do with The Wire.
You weren't even on it at all.
I was not on The Wire at all.
Gotcha.
Season 1, except prop master for the pilot.
Sure.
Did not do the first season, and then I got a call from David Simon after the first season had aired, and he says, "Hey Jeff, it's Simon. I'm writing season 2 now, and there's a couple of parts that I think you might be good for. Would you ever consider acting?"
And not thinking, oh, Jeff wants to be an actor. Just thinking
He just called. Jeff's a guy that I've known since the Homicide days.
It was just in his mind.
I was just in his mind. Yeah.
Wild.
And I said, "Sure. What's the character?" And he says, "I don't know. I haven't written it yet, but I'll let you know." And a few months later, Simon calls and he says, "Hey, so I want to send you up to New York to audition. I want you to read for 2 parts." So I went up to New York and I auditioned for the character Horseface, and I auditioned for the character Johnny 50.
Oh my gosh.
And I ended up getting the Johnny 50
That's unreal.
role.
And you were in every episode or a bunch of episodes?
Well, so
I gotta go back and watch them.
So I'm still a set dresser on Ladder 49.
Oh, okay.
And I auditioned in New York. And then I got a call a couple days later congratulating me. He said, "Congratulations, Jeff. You are going to be a new cast member this season." And I said, "I read 2 parts. Which one did I get?" He says, "You're going to be Johnny 50.
And this is a series regular or...
This is a series regular. So, but I didn't know it at the time of the phone call. So I said, "Well, what happens next?" He said, "Well, this Friday we're going to have a cast rehearsal at the bar, followed by hair, makeup, and wardrobe consultations." And so I went to that first rehearsal. Simon is there. Ed Bianchi was the director at the time, who was a Homicide alum. He's directing the first episode of season 2. And I went up to David and I said, "Man, David, this is so cool. Thank you so much. Like, this is awesome. Is it just this one episode?" And he says, "No, you'll be in all the episodes this season. Is that a problem? Because if I need to recast, let me know."
Yeah, right.
And I said, "Oh, no. I'm a set dresser on Ladder 49, but no, I want to do this.
Figure it out. Yeah.
I want to do this." And he said, "Okay." And it was the first time I realized that I was going to be in the entire season.
That's amazing.
And so for 6 months, let me back up. I went to the decorator, Jay, and I said, "Hey, Jay,
On ladder 49.
On ladder 49,
Yeah.
I said, "Hey, I kind of accidentally landed a role on
I've been
The
accidentally
Wire,
cast for a season.
but I still want to be a set dresser."
And remind me, at the time, The Wire, I mean, it was that big back then. That was a huge TV show, right?
It was, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't remember whether it, sometimes they become that way after the fact.
Yeah, season 1 was
Huge.
mind-blowing. Yeah.
Wow.
So Jay says, "You auditioned?" I said, "I didn't mean to. I mean, Simon called me and I got the role and I kind of want to do that, but I also
Man.
want to set dress." And he says, "Well, we'll work it out." And I said, "It's going to have to, the acting's going to have to take precedence."
Of course.
He said, "We'll figure it out." So for 6 months, I worked on both as a set dresser on Ladder 49 and an actor on The Wire. And some days it would be 3 days acting, 2 days set dressing, 1 day acting, 4 days set dressing.
Wow.
It would just sort of flip and flop. And then they ended up bringing my character back in season 5 as well. So yeah, that was a little tangent that I went on in
incredible.
my career.
So let me ask you a question. When you're sitting on set on The Wire, is it weird to reset the mentality of, no, my job is to sit here until my scene and then do my scene, and like I know that the props guys are like to ignore all that?
It was, what was really interesting about being an actor, it was very embarrassing. Like I was embarrassed.
In a weird way, that's kind of what I'm asking, because I would
Yeah.
feel like I'm not supposed to be like.
Yeah, like,
it's almost
why-
like I've had to say things I've had to say things off camera as like an off camera voice or whatever, and the first time I do it, I'm like, I'm not allowed to talk when
Yeah.
when we're rolling.
It was, I'll tell you, I did not have a problem learning my lines. I was not uptight about being on camera. I knew the language of a camera, so I knew how to play to a camera
Sure.
just from watching other actors as
Yeah.
a prop person, The thing that was most uncomfortable for me is that as an actor, I was looking and seeing all of my peers, people that I had worked with, alongside with, next to, holding a ladder for them, making props, and now I'm on the other side, and I'm being treated a little different by the ADs, and I didn't like it. Like I had a trailer. I hated it. I was embarrassed to be in my own trailer.
This is sort of what I mean. You're putting a point on it, but this is kind of what I was wondering. It seems like it would be very. I directed a couple episodes, and there were certain things that they did for me, and I was like, "Wait, I'm one of them," and it's like, "No, you're not anymore."
Exactly, and so I am at my very core one of them.
Yeah.
I am a crew person,
Wow.
and so I would.
And also these are people that you know, right?
These are people that I've been working
Yeah.
with for 10 years.
And suddenly he's over there, and we're still.
Yeah, and so
Wow.
to be on camera, and then it's not that I didn't see any snickering or any, like, people, my friends were,
I'm sure they were all supportive, right?
they were all supportive,
Of
but
course.
there's one time it was starting to drizzle and I was on set, and I would spend more time on set not on camera than I would in my trailer, right?
course,
Just
yeah.
because I wanted to be with my
Sure,
friends.
Yeah.
So now I can hang out and talk to everybody, and I don't have to lift shit or move stuff. I'm not moving directors' chairs anywhere. It's like,
Yeah.
But this one day, it started to drizzle, and one of the ADs came up and said, "Jeff, it's ready to start downpouring. We need you to go to your trailer now." And one of the key grips walked by and said, "Hey, you got to go to your trailer now, Jeff." And I was like, "Man, come on!" So I was getting a little bit of razz.
Yeah, well, of course.
And-
I mean,
yeah.
and I'm sure it's all good natured. Like I said, I'm sure they all still support you. And
100%. It was a wonderful experience,
great.
and just another tangent, and not something I ever set out to do.
Was there a learning curve in acting and finding the character and working with other actors, or did it just sort of like, because you've seen it for so long, that it kind of was there all this osmosis, I guess?
What I did when I got the first script, I called one of the other actors named Bus Howard. I can't remember his character's name, but I had worked with him. He was an actor on a couple of John Waters movies. And I said, "Hey, I've never done this before. Can we run lines or something?"
Yeah.
So he came over, and I was running lines with him for the first time. And then after that, I realized, well, why am I learning these lines and going through this? I'm not going to be able to know how to react until that person
Gives
that's
you
opposite me gives me something.
Yeah.
So I only did the one running lines rehearsal, and then from that point on, when I would go pick up my scripts at the production office, I would leaf through and I would dog ear every page that had a scene that pertained to me. And
Uh-huh.
then when I got home, I would just read them once or twice. And then I didn't look at them again until I went on set.
Wow.
I didn't practice.
Wow. So
I don't know
so
how
that
I-
it could be fresh and just
And fresh
you could be in
and
the moment.
Yeah, and if I preconceived a way of, responding to somebody else, well, how do I know what they're going to give me?
That's
so,
interesting.
So anyway,
That's great. So it was a good experience overall.
it was a good experience.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Did it change the way that you saw like the people working on the crew at all? Like, did you?
No. No.
I'm not saying better than or worse than, but just watching people.
It gave me another perspective, but see, because I was already a method prop guy,
Yeah.
like I was already thinking like
I
an
gotcha.
actor
Yeah,
to
yeah,
try
yeah.
to do that, so it kind
Yeah.
of made sense. And I had built up some stories, some backstory for my character, because I got nothing. I
Yeah.
knew I drank 53 beers on my 25th birthday. That's why they called me Johnny 50.
Okay.
They rounded it down to be more poetical.
Johnny 53 doesn't quite.
Johnny 53 didn't cut
Yeah.
it. It was just another thing
That's
that I
great.
did. And then I had done a movie as a prop person called Something the Lord Made with Alan Rickman
remember
and
this
Mos Def and
God, you
Mary
worked
Stuart
with Alan
Masterson.
Rickman. I love Alan Rickman.
Do you?
Such a talented actor.
Okay, so he is, and so I'm working with him, and this is a movie. Something the Lord Made is a movie about Alfred Blaylock, who was a doctor at Vanderbilt, and Mos Def plays his assistant Vivian Thomas, and it was about the blue babies dying,
Yep.
and so they were practicing with dogs,
Okay.
trying to solve this blue baby problem,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
oxygen in the
Yeah.
blood. And I'm doing props on that movie. And after that, I have a prop story to tell about that.
Okay.
Can I tell you?
Yeah, go for it.
Alan Rickman really intimidated me. He was very proper English,
I've heard that.
very man of few words, very serious.
Okay.
He intimidated me.
All right.
Was pretty uptight. Well, in the prep part of the pre-production part of the show, in doing research, I found the original tools that Vivian Thomas and Alfred Blaylock made.
Whoa.
So they were performing procedures, but there weren't tools yet to do these procedures. So they were actually
They had
making
to-
their own tools.
Yeah. Wow.
So we had a rehearsal coming up with Alan Rickman, Mos Def. The director was Joe Sargent, old Hollywood.
Old Hollywood.
Yeah, old
that's
Hollywood.
like a big name.
Yeah,
TV.
he's
Yeah.
directing, and then our technical advisor, he is literally the person that first successfully separated Siamese twins. He was our technical advisor.
Whoa.
And he was around. He knew Blaylock, and so a lot of good people in the
Yeah.
room. Well, I had found the original tools, and I had made a deal with Johns Hopkins, where they were,
To use them.
to use them.
How cool.
So we had all the instruments laid out on the tray, and I said, Alan, I want to let you know and everybody in this room that these instruments right here are literally the ones that Alfred Blaylock and Vivian Thomas made.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's important for you to know that so that you can feel that energy
Cool.
and knowing that these are the ones. And Alan Rickman was so blown away, and he ended up saying to me later, he said, I don't know if you realize how much of a gift that was that you gave to me as an actor to be able to put my hands on that history. And for me, that was a powerful moment for me.
Oh, I'm getting chills hearing
Yeah,
that. It's fantastic.
And it's a little thing, and the camera's not going to know if it's a brand new one or the real one, but for an actor and as a prop person to be able to give that to an actor so that they can glean some energy and whatever cosmic.
Well, because they're looking for anything that's real, right? And that's
Yeah.
what that's what they're looking for the performance. So it's to know that they actually are holding the actual instruments.
And it's something I did completely on my own.
That's so wonderful.
I was so excited to be able to give that to an actor.
Yeah.
And so that directly relates to my production design and how I do the production design too, like the energy of objects and the physical objects that I can put on a set as a designer or a prop person that that trigger, even on the periphery, an actor's performance. I put things on set that they can see so that they have an emotional trigger.
That's so great.
And sometimes they notice it and sometimes they don't. But more often than not, the actor will come to me and thank me for, man, I don't know how you got into me,
In my
but
head,
yeah. And I do have conversations with actors as
Do you?
well. Oh yeah. I want to hear their sensibilities.
Meaning, hey, we're going to see your office for the first time. What do you think? What do you think your character's office looks
Sure.
like that kind of thing?
Yeah.
What would work? What do you need? What would work for you?
Yeah.
That's
Or, hey, this is how I've interpreted your character.
Am I going in the right direction?
These are my boards.
Yeah.
This is the palette. These are some of the things that if I was your character, I might have with you.
I would assume that they appreciate that.
They
yeah?
do. And more often than not, I'm right on board. And what that does, though, is that triggers a conversation. It triggers a dialogue between me and the performer. And then they start talking about things that they might, or how they've interpreted their character. And so just through
That's so
the
cool.
art of conversation, I'm presenting my interpretation of the character. They're presenting me with their and we're melding it together, and sort of the best things rise to the top.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So when you, as a production designer, you get a script, you read it through. Do you start envisioning stuff right away, or do you just try to like?
I do. So I read it many different ways. I read it first, just real fast, just for the overall story. And each time I read it after that, I'm going in a little bit deeper with the environment, with the character. I just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper as I read it. And all the while, I'm building a Pinterest board. I'm pulling resource material out. I'm pinning stuff on my wall. I'm just sort of throwing everything on the wall around me. And then as I sit in my office and I work, I start eliminating things. And through that whole process, new things come up on the board, other things go away.
Fascinating.
Conversations with an actor completely shift my thought. I might go off on another direction. It is a very fluid, just sort of ever tumbling thing.
Do you find that you're ever, well, this is what I think their world looks like, and I think it's going in this direction, and then you sit down and talk with them, and you go, oh, that I was totally seeing that a different way than they are.
I've never been that far off.
It's usually a version of what.
Yeah, I've never been that far off, and I have a lot of conversations with the directors and the showrunners too, and I cast a very wide net.
Yeah.
And then I refine it as I learn more.
That's really cool.
Whittle it down.
It's amazing to me to hear how much goes into this, because again, I don't mean anything by this, but I just never really thought it through the way I'm thinking about it sitting and talking to you. We show up and there are these great sets, and it's like, oh, like this looks great.
Yeah, this has always been here.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we don't think that, but it's just like I don't realize what goes into it.
It's a lot, and
showing up.
I can't speak to other designers and how they work, but
not.
for me, it starts with just internally. I was told years ago by a director to trust my instincts. There was a period of time, and still, I second guess stuff, but I'm trying really hard to just sort of go on that first impulse, that first instinct. It's been an exciting journey, my career.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you, I remember meeting you on P Valley. So for anybody who doesn't know, P Valley is what it takes place in
Chuckalissa, Mississippi.
Chuckalissa, Mississippi, which is I think a fictional town, right?
It's fictitious, yeah.
But it's in a strip club called the Pink, and that was a big set piece. And I remember it must have been in pre-production, although maybe I was just here prepping or something like that. I remember walking the stages, and I met you. We walked through the stages, and you were so excited because you showed me these like parts of walls that would put out, and you were like, if there's ever a shot with a camera that could go through here and it could poke through here. And I never had a production designer who actually thought so much about the camera. And with all these opportunities, and I remember you said, like, it might not happen, but if it ever goes, someone could walk through here and all the way through here, and the camera could follow through. And I thought that was so cool that you were taking into account what we had to do, and sort of like, making sure that we knew the possibilities that were there.
So that's that comes from my experience being on set as a prop person and an on-set dresser, and really understanding what every department needs and how every department works. And so one of the things that I say as a production designer now, my prop experience and set dressing experience informed what I do now. So knowing about the character, knowing about the mechanics of a set, how a wall is going to move, the importance of speed and efficiency on set, understanding that directors are always going to want to shoot. They always ask you, where haven't you shot? What directors haven't shot here?
You mean the sixth or seventh director who comes in?
Correct.
They want to know, like, what haven't we seen?
What haven't we
What's
seen?
going to make
So,
me stand out?
as a production designer, I'm always thinking about, obviously, foreground, middle ground, background, depth, backlight, reveals, all these things. You want to have something. I say to my crew, I was like, you should be able to take and I hate sports, but it's a sports analogy. Take that penalty flag, and wherever that flag lands, you should be able to put a camera, and in any direction, you should get a nice shot.
Yeah.
I think at the time I started designing, I had been on set 18 years as a prop person or a set dresser. So I know the importance, and I knew the importance of the mechanics of a set. And I remember sitting on the stage our first day, and you looked at me, and you sort of referenced the wall of mirrors that were right on the stage.
Scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, you're like, hey, Jeff, I mean, how the hell am I supposed to shoot this? I mean, we're going to be photographing strippers on the stage, and you've got a wall of mirrors. Yep. And I said, let me show you something, Dave. And I remember showing you that they all gimbaled.
They all
gimbaled.
And
what was important is that not to cheat the gimbal, but to actually play that these things do spin.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was important.
That was great.
Every time I can put a camera port or something in somewhere to offer up another shot, I mean, the last thing you want to do is exhaust your angles, your camera angles.
That was fantastic. It was such a gift. And I also just remember that the thing that I loved about that set was it felt like it had been a club for, forever. And actually, in a weird way, I can't remember what, but there were moments where we'd be in something and I'd be like, oh my God, this clearly was something else before it was this. Like it has a whole history to it. And actually, specifically that locker room that we were in just felt like there had been 100 years of strippers in there.
Yeah, and there was little things that I did in the design that I don't know if most people will ever recognize it, but I started thinking about the building. The pink was a very long building.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking, if there were no walls in here at all when it was built, all your flooring's going to go this way, right along with.
Oh, no
way. And
way.
so then when I built other walls on top of it that went at an angle, I still had the floors going there. Or if you had, I had beadboard wainscoting along the chair rail down.
Yeah.
Well, originally it would have been there, but then Uncle Clifford built a stage on top of it, so now you only see this much of it.
Oh, that's amazing.
So I started doing all these
totally
little
see all
things
this.
to show the progression of the physical changes that the building had been through over the decades.
Yeah. There's like these levels of
I built a
different
whole
people coming in
backstory.
and doing different things. So that's actually something you specifically are thinking about.
Oh yeah, I built a whole backstory. And of course,
So
I have
cool.
conversations with Katori and the showrunner.
Yeah.
And the way I got that job, I was sent the script. I read the script. I wrote a letter about, I think it started with, I'm from Baltimore. I've worked on The Wire. I've worked on Homicide. What I love about this story is it's unapologetic. It's not afraid to say what needs to be said.
Yeah.
This script is shining a light on things that need to be brought to light.
Oh, that's great.
And because of being in Baltimore and everything is real, like it was that reality that I really wanted to hit, and the juke joints and being on the wrong side of the tracks. I don't like things. I've done so much aspirational television and everything is neat and tidy in its place, and I really long to do something that was rough around the edges. That was messy
But purposely. I mean, as part of the story, it was messy.
And so that story, P-Valley, really resonated with me.
That's great.
And I think to date it's one of the favorite things that I've designed.
I can see why. I mean, that there was history in that whole set. That set was unbelievable. I mean, all the sets were great, but that set specifically was so fantastic.
Yeah, and so I think too about posturing, and this is going back to the whole thing about thresholds. As a designer designing a new space, when I go to look at that set for the first time, when I stand at that threshold and I look in, if I don't feel the certain thing that I feel, which I can't articulate, but it's a physiological sensation. if I don't feel that thing in that threshold, then I start asking myself, why aren't I feeling that? What's missing? What's too much? What do I need? What was the first thing what was the first thing that drew my eye? Is that the right thing to see when I first walk in? And so I do a lot of that. So I have to be transported at that threshold because the actor needs to be transported at that threshold. The director, the cinematographer, everybody needs to feel it when they get to that threshold.
Yeah.
So then I start thinking about an actor and how they posture themselves and how their posturing changes as they move through the spaces. How do they interact with it physically?
Wow.
The thing with the pink was about power play. So I remember a couple of people, even on my own crew, asked me why I was building, the outsides up just to go down. And I said, it's about power play. When you come into that club, you're posturing yourself a certain way. Mm-hmm. When you walk into that club and you are on that peacock stage for everybody to see, there's a moment with you as a character coming, you're scoping, you want to be seen. But then in order to get in, you then step down. And now
you would come in, and there were those steps that came down,
and then you go
so
down.
The floor was lower than the outside and the stage.
Correct. And so the patron, the man, gets that ego moment.
Yeah.
When they first come in, but then they have to step down,
Oh my
which
gosh.
then puts the women in a position of power and they're above. So that whole set was designed about the physical power play
I gotta
of
tell you,
having
my
a man.
mind is sort of blown right now that you put all of this thought into that, which now that you're saying, I totally get it.
Yeah.
I mean, being an idiot, I was just like, oh, I think this is really cool how there are all these levels. But
It was all about power play.
That is
if you remember
fantastic.
in the Paradise Room, I had that wallpaper that we made.
that was the craziest room. Was the Paradise Room the one with the cotton ceilings?
Yeah, cotton ceilings, cotton chair.
And what was the wallpaper?
The wallpaper was a wallpaper that we created called it's a toile, which is a type of wallpaper.
Okay.
And for me, that room was about the Old South. It was about the history. So I had slaves in the field picking
That's right,
cotton.
slaves, that's
there were
right.
masters on horseback.
Oh,
there
yeah.
were steamboats. There were magnolia leaves. There were plantation houses with the white
Now
columns.
I remember that was the strangest room.
And then there were white columns in the corner that
Yep.
referenced the front porch of the master's house. And then I put those giant silhouettes of women, strippers, on
Yes.
top of it. So for me, it was about designing that wallpaper told a bigger story. It was about the history of slavery in the South. But by putting those silhouettes of those women larger
top
than
of
life
it,
on the wall,
yeah.
it gave those women power.
Wow.
It was about suppressing that history and bringing to the forefront these powerful women and their posturing. And so it's that visual movement, right, of them sort of on
Yeah.
the wall.
That's amazing. Like the levels that you've put into this.
I go deep.
Both figurative and
Yeah,
real.
I really go deep.
That's great.
And that's what excites me.
And well, the thing is, I mean, look, we see it sort of passively because we're obviously like in there now telling the stories, but it's like it so adds to the entire thing. That's incredible.
It does. And I also learned early on as an on-set, I always put my eye on the lens. I would always go to the DP and say, hey, can I look through the lens? Can I look through the lens? As an on-set dresser. On Wedding Crashers, I did that. I was constantly putting my eye on the lens to see the framing.
Actually, yeah.
And it's important. And I say to my on-set dressers now, like, don't just look at the monitor. Put your eye on the lens, on the camera, and see exactly what you're going to see.
Well, now of course everybody's got the iPad and they're
but even that's still not the
It's
same.
Not the same.
You got to
I
put your
agree.
eye on the lens and you got to look at it.
Yep.
And so I
Yep.
really encourage on-set dressers to do just that.
Fantastic.
But I want to also interject. So, like in 2010, I did my last prop show, and that was a movie called Killer Joe.
Okay.
With it was directed by Billy Friedkin. Caleb Deschanel was the DP.
Wow.
Matthew McConaughey was a star, and Gina Davis. What is her name? Gina Davis. Yeah, it was Gina Davis and Paul Tom. What's his name? Fuck, I forget all their names. Anyway,
Don't worry about it.
that was the last time I did props, and that was a fantastic. I had already been production designing for a few years.
Caleb Deschanel.
Billy fucking Friedkin.
What was he like?
Billy Friedkin?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Insane.
Okay.
Out of his fucking mind.
How so?
Volatile. He told me, he said, I don't ever want to see a director's chair on set.
Okay.
He said, I'm 70 something years old. We're not here to sit down. We're here to work. I don't sit on a chair. Caleb didn't sit in a chair. It was a huge learning experience working with him. But he said, if I see a director's chair on set, not only is the person sitting in it fired, but you're fired. And he would come in, you could be like, everybody on the side of the room, you're fired.
Wow. Okay.
So we knew that going in. But
Yeah.
Brooke and I, being from Baltimore, having this, I don't give a fuck who you are, you're not, like, there's just an edge.
You batted back, right?
Batted back.
Yeah.
And Billy and Brooke and I got along fantastic.
That's great.
With Billy Friedkin. It was great. I'll tell you a funny story. There was, he would get obsessed about colors. Like one day on set, he's like, there's too much white stuff around here. We need to get rid of all the white. Or this is red. And he comes up to me one day and he says, there's too much red on the set. We need to get this red out of here. And I said, well, Billy, we've already established this and now we're going backwards. You're like a deconstructionist filmmaker. Like you don't care about continuity. And he said, I want to tell you a story. When I was doing The Exorcist and we were shooting the scene with the demon on the bed and the
So cool.
and the tape recorder, and so Max von Sydow comes and he hits the recorder to record the demon in the wide shot. And then when we went to do the insert, I asked Max to use a different hand.
Mm-hmm.
And so after the first take, the script coordinator says, oh, Billy, in the wide shot, he used the right hand. And Billy said, I know, I want him to use the left hand. And so I said, well, why did you do that? And he said, in all the years since I've done Exorcist and the thousands and thousands of letters I've received about all of my movies, not one person has mentioned that there was a continuity error.
Yeah.
And what that does, for him, it was the most important thing was to be immersed in the story. And that if you're immersed in the story, you don't notice things like that. And it was proof.
Absolutely.
And so that gave me a lot of freedom as a designer to sort of lighten the load of being so specific.
It has to be this.
It doesn't have to be this. It's about the story.
Yeah.
It's about immersing the viewer into the story. And anything that I do as a designer that's distracting or would take away, it's not good for the story. So it's not about being bigger. It's about being right. Like you don't want to notice anything I do.
That you just literally said the guy who taught me Steadicam, Bob Crone, and I've said this on the podcast many times. The irony of what we do is if we do it well, nobody knows we did it.
Exactly. And that's we get these award seasons and I'm always asked to submit stuff. And what gets awards is period pieces and, future things, like big things. If you watch P-Valley, I'm pretty confident that you wouldn't know that wasn't a real bar.
No way.
You would think it's a real place.
By the
and
way,
the
if you're in it, you don't necessarily.
You don't know.
If you can suspend your disbelief, you wouldn't know.
And the best compliment that I've ever gotten is from the viewers who say, I want to come see the Pink. When I go to Atlanta, I'm going to the Pink.
Yeah.
The viewers believe it's a real place.
It's a real place.
It
has
came
to
up
be, right?
in my head. It was, and
great.
I want to show you something. Can I show you something?
Yeah.
So my very first day on P-Valley, I'm the only person in the art department. And I sketched that little thing there.
Which I will take a picture of and include on the website. Yeah.
I don't draw.
Okay.
I'm
basically holding an 8x10 piece of paper with sort of.
really shitty doodles.
I can tell that it's the outline of the bar, but that's because I was, or the stage and the club, but that's because I was there. Yeah.
So I doodled that layout
Yep.
on my very first day.
Meaning this didn't exist yet.
No.
Yeah, this is just you in your mind going.
We knew we were going to build a club.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it looked like, but so that was that. We went through, so I ended up getting that drawn up. We drew that up proper.
Yeah.
And then we went through, I don't know, 5 or 6 different iterations with Katori and Nancy, and we ended up coming back to that.
Back to that.
Right back to my first impulse. The
That
only
you
thing that's
doodled.
different from what we built to that is that I moved the bar to the other side and the entrance to the other side. We just
bar
flipped
was over
it.
there. Yeah, I got you.
We
Okay.
just flipped it.
Yep.
But that's instinct.
That's great. That's fantastic.
And it's exciting.
Well, to get to the end and go, yep, I had it right the first time.
I had it right the first time. So this goes back to Tamara Davis, who was giving me advice, like, trust your instincts. Don't second guess them. Your instincts are really good.
That's really great.
And that's one of the hardest things. When the first thing I production designed, I had done a couple of production design things for, I did one called Prince Among Slaves. And then I did a Smithsonian documentary called Soul of a People. Those are the first two things that I was asked to production design. They were documentaries, so I was just doing little vignettes, but that's how I got my start as a production designer. My first real job production designing was a show called Single Ladies. And I was asked by a producer named Shelby Stone, who produced Boycott, and I was a prop master. She called me and said, "Hey, Jeff, I want you to production design this new series." And I said, "I'm not a production designer. I haven't done that yet." And she goes, "No, you got it. You can do this. It's called Single Ladies. I'm going to put you on a train to New York tomorrow to meet with our director." And I said, "Look, I'm not there. I still have more learning I need to do." Long story short, she puts me on a train. I go to New York and I meet with Tamara Davis, who's directing the pilot for Single Ladies. And I just listened to what she wanted that day. After that meeting, I spent the afternoon walking around New York and looking at boutiques and things. And on the train ride home to Baltimore, it came to me like a bolt of lightning. I saw the whole.
It's just like inspiration.
Boutique. I had developed a concept. And when I got home, I called Shelby Stone and I said, "Here's my pitch." And she goes, "This is exactly what we want." Put me on the phone with Tamara Davis. I pitched it. I got hired. And that ended up being 3 years. That's sort of how I got my chops, was on Single Ladies.
And out of curiosity, when you say you pitched it, how specific are you getting? Or is it more sort of the feel? And
it was feeling.
It's feeling.
It was feeling. So I said, I don't want this to be like a department store. This is it's a boutique. It's airy. It's like, it's not about volume of stuff. It's about the preciousness of these different objects. And I had sort of incorporated this sort of bird nest kind of motif and built these stages. Anyway, I got really conceptual with it, and they dug it. And so that was my first proper production design.
That's amazing.
That series.
That's really cool.
And it's, I'm a jeans and t-shirt white guy. I'm a little rough around the edges. I am not a bougie African-American, who you're wearing and what you're driving. That show was a whole new world for me. That's not my world. So it was the first time that I actually had to really do research and try to understand a world that I don't exist in.
Yeah.
I don't exist going to black clubs and, black culture and that's not my world.
Is there something that's almost easier about that because you don't have preconceived notions and you're starting with a blank slate?
I think so. Yeah. I'm coming in completely cold, completely blind.
Huh.
And I really do enjoy the prep.
That's cool.
And the research and finding little morsels that I could then expand on.
And have you mentioned before period pieces and stuff. Have you done period pieces?
Not as a production designer.
Is it something that interests you, or does that?
What interested me is I've always wanted to do a Western.
Uh-huh.
I think that's really appealing to me. That's one genre I haven't done. I've done science fiction and I've done suburban. I've done, what did I say in my interview with Katori? I said, I've done high end, I've done low end, I've done aspirational, but I really think I shine in the gutter. That's what I said. And that comes from Baltimore. There was one day on the set of Homicide, we were shooting on this street and it was trash day for real in Baltimore and so I was moving the trash bags off camera because I was thinking, okay, if we're in the middle of shooting the scene, then the trash trucks come through and they take all the trash and then we pick up the scene. Continuity-wise. So I'm moving literally real trash away and the production designer, Vince, comes in. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I explained about the he's like, "This ain't Disney, honey. Keep them there." And I just never forgot that quote. "This ain't Disney, honey. In other words, it's real.
Yeah.
Let it be real.
Let it be real.
And that's something that I strive to
love
do
that.
with every one of my sets is let it be real.
It's fascinating to me, and I didn't think it would be, but there's so much in what you're talking about that to me resonates as a camera operator.
In what way?
Well, just in the thing of you're supposed to do your job in such a way that nobody's thinking about your job. It's about the story.
Yeah.
That again, real. One of my favorite shots that I've done is from a movie called Shame. And it's this guy who's a sexual predator who's hunting this woman not hunting. He's trying to find this woman, catch up with her in a subway station. And if you look at it with the sound off as a Steadicam shot, it's not good. But it so captures the energy of what's going on, sort of the hunt that he's on, that it's real. And so it's again, all of these things that we're all talking about are that at the end of the day, it's about telling the story well. It's not about doing a great shot or building the best set in the world or whatever. Is it work and is it real?
And does it keep you in the story? It
Yeah.
has to keep you in the story. I'm going to paraphrase this, but I started thinking when I first started this business, like if we went into a public restroom set,
Okay.
and there's a shot in the stall, somebody's going to the bathroom. Well, if you don't have a toilet paper roll there, if you don't have the soap next to the sinks, if you don't have these, the viewer's going to notice, hey, that's not there. They missed it. But if it's there, you'll never notice
You'll never
it.
think about it.
And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah. Chris Chulak is a director I used to work with quite a bit, like ER and whatnot. He used to say, and I'm sure he still does, the star of the movie is the movie.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is. At the end of the day, is it helping tell the story or is it taking you out of the story? Those are the two questions.
Does this move the story forward,
Yep.
or does it distract or take away?
It's fantastic.
So it's
Absolutely amazing.
working on. I had so much fun working with Julio, the DP.
Julio McCott? On Wedding Crashers.
Yeah. What did I say?
No, Julio. No, I didn't know if
Julio,
you.
Wedding
I
Crashers.
was thinking P. Valley. I was like,
No, Wedding Crashers.
Julio McCott. Yeah.
And oh my God, he would fuck with me all the time.
How so? I could tell you one thing that he did, but you tell me first.
He would rearrange the shit on the table
All the time.
all the time. And so I remember it was
His hands were always in the soup.
It was either Vince Vaughn's character's apartment or it was Owen Wilson's character's apartment. And I remember there being ketchup and mustard things on the table, and there were a few other things, and skis up against the wall. And I'd set everything up, and then I'd come back to and Julio would move things. Like he would take, if I had a ketchup here and a mustard here, he would do things like that.
He'd switch them.
Or he'd just, make it a little bit different just
Yep,
to
yep.
keep me on edge.
Oh boy! The other thing about Julio that I remember very specifically is like we'd be in a scene and he'd come over and he'd be like, "These are really nice candle holders. When I'm done, can I grab these and put them on the truck or whatever?" So he was always falling in love with little things on the set, and he'd bring them home or whatever. What a great guy! I love Julio. He's fantastic.
Great. So yeah, my career as a production designer has really, I owe everything to all the other positions I had before that.
And when you read a script, I mean, is there anything that you're looking for, or do you just looking for does it resonate, or I mean, like what makes you take a gig?
Money. No.
There's that.
What makes me take a gig? If I get a script and I don't see it or I don't feel it, I won't take it.
It's got
It has to resonate.
It has to resonate
somehow with me. I mean, Single Ladies didn't really resonate. It was not my world.
Yeah.
But it was my first opportunity.
Well, yeah, that's a different situation.
And that was a different situation.
Sure.
But nowadays, it has to resonate with me. I'm not going to take a job if I don't feel it.
Yeah. I have to ask you this question, which has nothing to do with this, but just because it's fascinating. And I will take some video, if you'll allow me to, afterwards that I will put on the website because people should see this. I'm in your office here, and there is all of this memorabilia about Johnny Eck.
Yes.
Can you just, well, first of all, tell people who Johnny Eck was and what your situation with that is.
Okay. Johnny Eck was a man who was born in Baltimore, Maryland in 1911. He was born in the second floor front bedroom of his tiny row home during a storm. And he came out, he was born with no legs.
And he was a twin, right?
And he was a twin. So his brother Rob was born first. In 1911, she didn't know she was carrying twins. You know, they didn't have.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, so the mother gives
and there's
birth.
another one.
Yeah,
Or
gives birth to Robert, who is a totally normal
Yeah.
person in every way. And then a few minutes later, another baby is born, and it's Johnny with no legs. He was 8 inches long, born with no legs.
They must have just assumed he would die, right?
They assumed he would die.
Right, yeah.
Johnny would live to be 79 years old. He was born in the house, and he died in the room directly below the room he was born in.
No. Wow.
Yeah.
And you said 1991 he passed away,
Yeah,
right?
so Johnny and his brother Rob were born on August 28th, 1911. They never had another house. The house was built in 1896. The family bought it in 1906. They had a daughter named Carolyn who was born in the house, and then in 1911 they had the twins. Parents died in 39, a month apart from each other. And then Johnny and Rob spent their entire life living in that house. Johnny died in the house in 1991, and his brother died in 1995 just down the street at Church Home Hospital. So I purchased that house 25 years ago.
That's
Hope to have a museum, but I own, his life.
Well, I mean, he was basically a healthy person.
Oh yeah, born with no legs, walked on his hands, was quite the skilled artist. He was a magician. He was an acrobat.
Were they in like Barnum and Bailey or?
No, they worked for a bunch of different circus and sideshow outfits. He worked with Robert Ripley, Ripley's Believe It or Not. Yep. He was managed by a man named John T. McCaslin, who was also a magician. Johnny starred in that movie Freaks. It was directed by Todd Browning in 1932. And he and his brother were inseparable their entire life.
That's what. So what? How did you? What? I mean, I was going to use the word addiction. Maybe that's not the right word.
I think obsession is probably a better.
Yeah.
So he's a Baltimore native.
Okay.
I became obsessed with Johnny Eck around 95 when I was walking through the daily grind to get to my loft.
Yep.
A coworker said, "Hey, I heard some antique store has all this Johnny Eck stuff."
No way.
And I went, "What? Huh? What?" And so I went to every single antique store in Baltimore looking for a sign. Is this the place? Is that the place?
Yeah.
I went to every single one.
Oh, trying to find the one.
Trying to find the antique store that has all this
yeah.
Johnny Eck stuff. And I'm not finding it. And I get back home to my place in Fells Point. And I was like, I never went to this antique store. It's like a block away. And I never checked there because he just had like old lady, fuddy-duddy kind of antiques in the window. It wasn't my shtick. It was called Johnny's Corner. So I walked the literal 2 blocks it was to get to Johnny's Corner. And there's a skull in that cabinet that I'll show you. But I saw that and I was like, this is the place. And it took me 2.5 years, but I eventually bought everything that he had bought. He was hired.
Wow.
So he answered an ad in the paper, estate sale.
Yeah.
He goes to Johnny Eck's row house, and the woman there says, how much will you give me for clearing the house?
Yeah.
And he says, I'll give you, let's say, $5,000.
Whatever, yeah.
He clears out the house. He doesn't know who Johnny Eck is. He's just looking at a house that 2 bachelors lived in for 80 years.
Has a bunch of stuff that
who never threw anything away.
$5,000 worth of stuff here.
Who never threw anything away.
Okay, all right.
He buys it all, puts it in these little flip-top bins that we use in the prop truck.
Yep.
Another antique guy went to his shop and said, hey, I heard you bought the Johnny Eck stuff. You want to sell it? He goes, no, I'm going to keep it. Well, how much for that? So he ends up buying half of the collection for $5,000.
Okay.
I buy the other half for $5,000. But I paid more than $5,000. He bought it $5,000. So now he's made his own money back.
Yeah.
So all the 2.5 years, my weekend routine was I'd get 2 cups of coffee and a cigar, and I'd bring it to Johnny's, and we would sit and shoot the shit and smoke cigars and drink coffee. And then he'd say, oh, I got another thing. And he would pull out another thing. So it took me 2.5 years to acquire all the Johnny Eck stuff that he had.
That is pretty wild.
And then it took me another 10 years to get the stuff from the other guy.
Wow. So you have all of it now.
Yeah, I had an obsession with circus and sideshow people, mostly the people who were ostracized. When I was in college, I did a potato freak book. I was
Excuse me.
obsessed with potatoes. Yeah.
But Potato Freak Book. What is this?
Yeah, this is a whole nother long story. But in college, I was obsessed with potatoes.
You mean just potatoes like what we eat?
Just potatoes, what we eat.
Okay.
And do you really want to hear the story? Because
I
I'll
don't
tell
know.
you.
Why
Okay.
not? We can always cut it out.
Yeah. I saw a very, very, very wealthy woman dressed to the nines walking in Baltimore through a mall, and she had a sort of pitiful, humble little sack of potatoes she was carrying, and it was just like the polar opposite. Like she was like going to the Met Gala, but she's carrying these potatoes, and there was in an instant there was something there. I didn't understand what, but there was something about the potatoes
Yeah.
and her. So I started doing research on potatoes, and then I started I started learning, I started learning about the potato folklorically, medicinally, agriculturally, in art. Like I just started really searching and gaining information about potatoes, and then I started developing my own concepts. And this is my whole senior thesis.
Wow.
Was about the potato, having eyes all the way around the head. Seeing 360,
Oh, how cool.
the eye, the literal eye, seeing, sight, vision, literal eye, psychic eye, like all these things I was
Wow.
sort of marrying together. And then I found a Siamese potato. I found a freak potato at a farmer's market. And I was like, wow, this thing's fucking cool. So I brought it back home, and I'd never seen a Siamese potato, and I was taking pictures of it. So then I started looking up sideshow people, and I looked up Chang and Ang and the side. I was like, oh wow,
Sure.
look at the similarities.
Oh,
And then I started going to every supermarket looking for more freak potatoes. And what I realized is they weren't in the supermarkets, but I
Because
could
they don't
find
make it that way.
they were
that far.
ostracized.
Yeah.
They were, nobody's going to buy this because it's different. We're going to get rid of this and only put the perfect ones
This
out.
isn't good. Yeah.
And so I was really interested in that idea that this is good because it's normal and uniform looking, and anything that's different is going to be ostracized and cast out. So I spent a long time, and I had amassed a series of freak potatoes that I took portraits of, and then I took the pictures of the human oddity that was most reminiscent of that, and I made a potato freak book.
Oh, wow.
And in that process, I learned about Johnny, but it was really about being humble. There was this one gypsy tale that I read about where if you take an organic potato under the light of the full moon and cut it in half, put one half over your infected eye and bury the other half in the ground, and it will get rid of your infection. So I took
takes
that
the
idea,
disease with it or
takes the
something,
disease.
yeah.
So I really started getting interested in the conceptual aspects of potatoes,
Wow.
and then it manifested itself in physical
That's really
installations
that's really
or structures.
fascinating.
But
Although it totally resonates, because basically what you're saying is conformity bad, non-conformity good.
correct. And how do we see, and seeing and feeling, and just literal vision versus psychic vision, or seeing in the future, or being aware of other planes of existence, or blah 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 blah. Like
That's really
I
amazing.
spent 20 years working with the potato.
Wow.
Making sculptures with them. I would grind them up and use them as pigment. I would make sculptures with them. I made a 600-pound potato tornado where I had 600 pounds of potatoes creating a tornado.
Wow, another layer of the onion is peeled back.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
the potato, as it were.
But potato's been a part of my life for a very long time.
That's really amazing. That's really wild. I do want to ask you a question, camera operator wise. Younger camera operators, older camera operators, whatever. What can they do to make sure that your vision is accurately portrayed, if that's the right word, and or what shouldn't they do? Because I actually find out often enough, if there are things that you've had from the past, you don't have to name anybody. Sometimes sometimes it helps more to learn what not to do than there is what to do.
I think the biggest issue I have with, and I love DPs, and I love, when I was even doing props, there were things that I would put on the set that I felt related to the character that wasn't even in the script, but I would go to DP and say, hey, I put this on set. I don't know if you could maybe capture that.
Try to grab it. Or,
Yeah, and so I would have a lot of conversations, and still do, with the DP about, hey, this is really important to me. Try to get this or that.
Yeah.
But I think camera people can have an arrogance about them that it kind of rubs me the wrong way. It's like, you're not any better than me or anybody else. And so I think it's just having respect. So having DPs that respect what has been presented, and then to engage with the on-set dresser or production designer and say, hey, we really need this, or can we do that? But having a conversation.
As opposed to get that out of here.
Get that out of here,
Yeah.
or steamrolling and just this arrogance, like, you can come over me, you can just get rid of this. Like, it drives me crazy when you have DPs who are so arrogant and think everything they do is more important than what everybody else has done. And I think so. That's the thing. I think
what I would interpret that as is recognizing that there's a tremendous amount of thought that has gone into this. I will say, in fairness, I think I've worked on some things where not a lot of thought has gone into something, and you go in and you're like, but that's not clearly what you're doing there. And I think that to recognize that it's not just all there arbitrarily for you to make work, as opposed to, and it sounds like finding out what is important in this set and why is it important in this set, so that you understand the storytelling that's going on.
And having a conversation. And I love it when a DP comes to me and say, hey, or even a camera operator, just like, hey, would you mind if, or hey, I was thinking about this or that.
Sure.
Like, just have the conversation. I am totally open. I do not, plant a flag and stake a claim like, this is my set and it has to be this.
Clearly.
It's about telling the story.
Yeah, and it's about collaboration.
It's about collaboration. And that's my point. It's like,
yeah,
I've done this, which was approved by X, Y, and Z. We're now here shooting this with this director, and something else needs to happen, or we need to make an adjustment. Have the conversation. Don't just move it over here and make the on-set dresser's job a nightmare. Like, just talk about it.
This is really interesting, because one of the last gigs that I did, I was there a little bit early, and I walked the sets with the set dresser, and we ended up actually working. I mean, he's amazing. Of course, I can't think of his name right now. But anyway, and now that I'm thinking about it, I remember that I would walk into the sets, because some of them were still being built, and I would look at the things that I was concerned about, because you're always protecting yourself, and I would mention that, and I now that I'm thinking is I also should have mentioned all the things that I was impressed with. And I don't think I did that, because you're always looking to go, what are the things that are going to trip me up or whatever.
This isn't going to work for me. How am I going to be able
and
to get this shot?
He was actually very, very understanding and accommodating, and a couple of things he was like, no, we're not done yet, but this is going to be whatever. But it makes me think, like, I probably didn't pay enough respect to what's happening there.
Yeah, I love hearing from other departments and what they need, but what I don't like is a DP that tells me how to do my job, or that steamrolls over what I've done.
But let me ask you a very specific question, because as an operator, when I'm not, I'm generally not on prep, right? The reality is I don't always get to meet or spend much time with the production designer, because you're usually 4 sets ahead because they don't have enough money or time or whatever. So really the person that I interact with, obviously, is the onset dresser. So that said, is when we walk into a new set, is it a good idea to go up to the onset dresser and go, so tell me what's important in this room? Like, what does the production designer really want to make
Absolutely.
That's something that definitely I think operators should all aspire to do. Also, the other thing is, I think, especially you're starting a show, right off the bat, it shows the onset dresser, like, what you've done here already is important to me. And we may end up having to move that couch, because the way it's being blocked, that doesn't work anymore. But at least I understand the importance of that couch, so let's move it to there, so it's on the back, or whatever.
I had an experience recently where we had delivered a set, and by the time we got to establishing the set, it was, it was night time. I was at home, and when I came into work the next day, the set was completely rearranged. Completely rearranged.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck is this? And I said, oh yeah, the DP didn't like the way it was, and they changed it. It infuriated me.
Yeah. Because you weren't consulted.
Yeah. The arrogance that you can come in and you think you have the right to just completely rearrange a set without any conversation with me.
Yeah.
You don't know what I've already discussed with other people that are involved.
Well, because it invalidates all the work you've done.
It does.
Right? Yeah.
And it was a complete surprise the next day. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, at least like let someone know and involve them in the
fuck is
process.
this?
Yeah.
Like, I don't tell you what lens to use.
Yep.
Like, so I do find,
I can understand that. I mean, but it's interesting to hear it from you, because the thing is, there is that thing of all of that work that you've done has happened before we get there. And I think part of the problem is, as an operator, we get there and I now have 2 hours to do this scene. Mm-hmm. And the director wants someone to walk through that area as opposed to that area. And so you have to, unfortunately, make quick. But I totally understand. I don't totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, but that's, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating.
I get it. I totally get it. No, but that's why I asked, because these are good things to have in people's minds. And actually, just even listening to you, it makes me go, I have probably not paid that as much respect as I should have in the past.
Yeah.
And I will say, it's going to drive me nuts. This last thing I did, the production design was so incredible, and I'll actually show you a video afterwards. We had one of these things where it was a house they were shooting in from when they were kids, and then it's 50 years later when they come back, and the father has been living there and just has never moved out of this house because of things that have happened. And when I walked into that house after it had been reset for modern times, it was one of the most unbelievable transformations. I mean, it was a character. It was absolutely incredible. And I do remember I immediately texted him and said, this just completely blows me away, and I cannot wait to shoot in here, but I need to do that more often. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you for letting me in your place and showing me all this stuff and sharing all this. This was actually, I'm totally fascinated by this, which doesn't surprise me at all. I'm going to leave you with the question that I leave everybody with at the end, which is, and I'll let you take us out. How to succeed in this business if you're starting out now, or something you wish you knew back then that you've learned along the way.
Yeah, I think being in the film business as long as I've been in, I think one of the most important things for anybody coming in is to put your ego away. That what we do collectively is a collaborative process, and to really check your ego and attitude and arrogance and realize that this is a collaborative process, that I can't do what I do until I have a script. You as a camera operator can't do anything until the set is built. We all need each other equally, and not one person is better than the other. The more you ask questions outside of your department, the more you're learning from other departments and what they need or don't need. It's about communication. That is really the most important thing. Don't worry about ownership or, this is mine, I did it. Things aren't precious in this business. You may think that this is really important, this is precious, but somebody else, maybe above you in rank, may not think it's as important. Have a willingness to let it go and say, okay, I've done what I've done. Now it's in the hands of the shooting crew, and things come up last minute. You have to be willing to make adjustments. Things change constantly in this business. And I think that's one of the things I've learned that I take with me is that things aren't precious. What I do is not precious, nor is what anybody else does precious, but we all need each other. And it's just communication. Like that grip who was following me because I was carrying his ladder and tape roll. Like, I didn't know, but he said, hey, just want to let you know. Like, people getting into the business, there's so much to learn. Help them. Be the old timer, the veteran that teaches them the difference between right and wrong. Or, hey, I saw you did this. Kind of maybe don't want to do that. You're stepping on somebody's foot. But it's about communication.
I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. We'll be back soon with another great episode. Don't forget to check us out on theop.io for all sorts of information on operating and storytelling. So thanks for listening and have a great day.